How was that? Good enough?
Frank.
No, he says that he did it. He says that he did it, so he did it. I'm so damn proud of myself. I did this for you, G. All right? I got him to sign on the dotted line for you. He didn't shoot the Cox kid, but go ahead, look at him. Look at him, he's proud to have signed.
The great Andre Brower,
Stood a better chance in the
safe
back of the
home.
paddy wagon.
My God, what a genius. Of course, the star of Homicide: Life on the Street, which is filmed right here in Fells Point. Frank Pembleton was unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. And then for a younger generation, of course, Raymond Holt on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I mean this, as great as Frank Pembleton was, like, I don't know that Raymond Holt wasn't, in ways, even a more amazing performance. I said this to someone last night. I am an obsessed Boy Meets World fan. I think a lot of people know that about me. I think it's one of the great television shows ever made. And people say, oh, it's too campy. You're just allowing nostalgia to be a play. I actually think it's more brilliant than you realize. I think it was a Greek tragedy, and I just don't think the people, because it was sort of a Disney-fied ABC show, I don't think anybody's willing to look at it that way. But the character of Mr. Feeney was this beloved character on Boy Meets World, and I've said this to a few people. I believe the closest we've come in a more traditional sitcom to recreating the Mr. Feeney character was what Andre Brower did with Raymond Holt, where he was somehow both the conscience of the program and elevated the comedy and played into the campiness and the silliness and the over-the-top nature of what Brooklyn Nine-Nine was. Andre Brower was a genius, an utter genius. And it sucks that we've lost Andre Brower at the age of 61. That's criminally too young. God. And Homicide, isn't thought of the way The Wire is thought of as, one of the greatest television programs of all time, but it was damn good. Man, that hit me. Like, that was a gut punch when I saw that last night. I love everything about Andre Brower as an artist. Just an absolute genius. So, very, very sad news. Safe home, Andre Brower. And good morning. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm going to need a minute. Got a lot going on today. Coming up, to understand that Drew Forrester is swinging by. He said it'd be a drive-by today, and I said that's fine. This bit that he's been doing, where he's been sticking around for 2 hours, I don't know whose idea that was, but I thought we had done away with the 2 hour. We used to do that years ago, where Drew would do the entire Friday show with us. I thought we had moved on from those days. I thought that wasn't a thing any longer. But recently, he's been sticking around for 2 hours. Like, out of the pandemic, we were able to get rid of that. We were like, no more Fridays with Forrester. Hooray! We upgraded. We brought in Stan Charles.
Yeah.
Then he started coming in on Wednesdays, and I was like, all right, that's fine, because he was like, I can't do the whole show. I'm like, that's all right. We'll be able to make it through somehow, some way. So I'm okay with him only. He called me earlier this week. He's like, hey, man, I got bad news. I'm like, uh-oh. Like, is it something important? Is it something related to our Helping Up mission drive? He was like, not going to be able to stay for very long on Wednesday. And I was like, oh, no. Well, we might as well not do the show then. I mean, just cancel it, I guess.
The only reason people tune in on
Wednesdays. Right? Everybody knows I love Drew. And the way that you love that uncle that you see at the holidays, and you're like, I'm going to stay on this side of the room. Like, I'll give you a hug, but I'll be over here now. That's the way it's going to go. Drew Forrester will be by later on in the program. Ryan Leaf is going to join the program. You remember, I have not, I wish that I would have had the chance to watch the Heisman doc. from '97 because, of course, he was featured in that.
Yeah, you're right.
I haven't had time to watch these things. I'm not going to be able to watch a Reggie White one tonight either because I'm going to see Mariah Carey tonight. That's the big event in my life, going to see Mariah Carey. Baby.
I think that's
I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited. I've had a few people judge me. I found out Tyus isn't a Mariah Carey fan. I don't like that at all.
He is not?
Yeah.
How are you not?
I don't get it.
How are you not a Mariah Carey
I don't get it. I'll never.
I can understand, like, not maybe.
Speaking of geniuses.
Right.
You can, like, her public persona you can poke at. But as far as her actual talent and the catalog she's given us, even if you're just someone who only knows, like, if you're young, you might only know Mariah Carey Christmas. If that was it would be genius. Mariah Carey's catalog is as rich as almost any performer of the last 30 years. 40 years at this point? I gotta think about my math. God, man. So I'm not going to be able to watch that either. But Ryan Leaf is on the call for the game Sunday night, Ravens-Jaguars on Westwood One. He'll check in with us. Pamela Wood's going to join us, enterprise reporter for the Baltimore Banner. She has been all over the Orioles lease conversation, negotiations, discussions, whatever you want to call it. And she will join us and try to help us make sense of what happens next. We did do the Tyus Bowser show last night. It was, for those of you that weren't able to come out and join us, unfortunately, we had 3 different guests cancel on us yesterday. Man. Like, honest to God, Tyus had someone lined up, then messaged me and said, "Oh man, can't make it." And I don't want to tell anybody who it is because we don't want to do that to them because we'd like them to come out and join us next Tuesday. So we don't want to make it seem like we're piling on. And then at like 6 o'clock, I scrambled, pivoted, and found an emergency option. And I was like, all right, this is all going to work out, like, at the end of the night. And even, like, 20 minutes later, that person was just like, damn, dude, I can't make it. I'm not going to be able to get there in time. And I was like, we can start late. Like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to get there till, like, 8:30. And then I'm like, all right, it's what it is. It's what it is. So we had a fun show with Tyus, and we veered into other territories, and we're gonna get you some of that today and throughout the course of the week. But at one point we did a segment. I don't know if you've ever listened to Rita and I on 105.7 The Fan. We do a silly segment called The Wheel, which is sort of like our bouncing topic segment. And we decided to do a version of that with Tyus last night, and Tyus wanted to, like, do, because he, after the show ended, was like, dude, I almost interrupted you because I wanted to bring up the Orioles lease. And I was like, bro, we would have been here for another hour and a half. And so then Tyus and I actually sat after the show.
And you were just talking
about it for, like, I'm like, all right, let me try to give you as much of the backstory as I possibly can about this. And I realized, like, how insane this must be for, a quote-unquote outsider. Like, Tyus has been here for a little while, but he's not from here. It's not in his blood. He hasn't, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know who John Angelos is.
Good for him.
He doesn't know these politicians. This isn't where, like, it's a lot.
Right.
So to try to, all right, where do we start?
It's like an entire movie that you're trying
Rita and I literally sat there for like a while attempting to try to explain the whole thing. And the number of times he just sort of looked up and shook his head. I'm like, bro, I do this for a living, and sometimes I feel the way that you feel right now. So Pamela Wood is going to attempt to educate us a little bit more about what next after the events of last week. And again, it appearing as though the deal had been reached, only for it to again come apart. Now what? Where do we go from here? We'll talk about that with Pamela Wood when she joins us a little bit later on, and we will get you segment number 1 of the Tyus Bowser Show. All of that coming up on the program today. Griffin, you want to let everybody know about what's going on at the Green Turtle?
Yeah, at the Green Turtle, every Thursday you will get a $10 free bet at the new Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson or Canton. So stop by, get your $10 free bet. watch the game, and enjoy some great Green Turtle food. So make sure you check out the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson or Canton, or both. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting with a $10 free bet each and every Thursday over at the Green Turtle Sportsbooks.
Yeah, you can't beat that. I would make sure you get over there.
And I'll say again, take the under tomorrow.
How'd it do on Monday night? How'd it do? I don't know what the numbers were.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think the Miami game went over because it was.
Yeah, it was what 28-27.
Yeah,
I don't remember what the number was.
I don't remember
for
what the
either
number was for the.
Well,
for
did
the
you?
Giants.
So you're saying you didn't bet them?
No, I didn't.
So you didn't even listen to your own advice?
Well, I wasn't.
What
I
kind
wasn't
of
banging.
what kind
I
of
wasn't
trust?
banging the
Whoa,
table.
Whoa!
This is Thursday night football. This
What
is
kind
the.
Oh no, you said it was primetime unders, Chief. You don't get to suddenly turn around and change your mind about this. You said primetime unders.
Giants game
were
went
the
over.
play. So they both went over.
Both went over.
So maybe it's not such a thing anymore.
Well, I mean, on the year we're still
last
up
Thursday
pretty big.
and last Thursday night went over.
It did go over. That was
I'm gonna
absurd.
guess Sunday night probably went over.
What was the Sunday? I already forget what
It was
Sunday night
Dallas, Philadelphia.
Yeah, that game probably went over.
So it was
Actually, let me see what they.
uh-huh.
That game went under.
That game was under.
It was
still.
under.
So that means overs were 3-1 on the weekend.
Correct.
Okay.
4-1 if you include Army Navy.
Who's playing? Is it Easton Stick who's playing for the Chargers? On Thursday night?
I
Or are
would
they
imagine
going-
so. Like what? Unless they go with
Max Duggan?
Max Duggan.
TCU legend Max Duggan, all in, baby. I want to see that. Are you committed to the bid or not? Really is the
I
question.
mean, I'm taking the under. Yeah.
But you weren't committed to it the rest of the weekend. It sounds like you're really saying is
Well, I
when
mean,
there's
yeah,
bad
once
teams with bad quarterbacks play the under, you're not really committed to the primetime under.
I'm staying committed, but yeah, I mean, when you gotta use your look at it. You got Tua Tagovailoa.
It sounds
Derrick
like you
Henry
got.
on,
It sounds like doing
Monday
the
Night
show in your
Football.
underwear one time scared you away.
I'm taking the under tomorrow night. Going to the Green Turtle Sportsbooks.
You keep saying that. We know that they're bad quarterbacks playing tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Your commitment to the bit has been play the primetime unders. And now it sounds like you're getting away from just it being primetime unders, and you're
Saturday
just saying,
night.
hey, if there are bad quarterbacks, then play the under.
Good under Saturday night.
So
Denver at Detroit.
oh, that's not bad quarterbacks necessarily.
Yeah, but I'll take the under in that one though.
All right.
Indy Pittsburgh. That's the 4:30 game on Saturday. Guess that counts as prime. I guess all those count as prime. I'm not sure how
Yeah,
we
I don't.
classify the Saturday
I don't
games.
know what they do. Yeah, I don't know if those count or not. Whatever. All right, let's move forward. What are we doing here? All right, Maryland basketball. They actually made a 3 or 2 last night.
They did.
Pull up what the numbers were because I feel like they made like 50% of their threes.
They made, I think, I was looking at it before we got in here. I think it was like 45 or 46% from three.
That's obviously better.
The freshmen all looked good. I think they all had double digits.
Now they were playing Alcorn State.
They
right?
were
Like,
playing
that's
Alcorn
the- This
State.
is the
They were
problem
playing
with
Alcorn State.
reacting to any of this. This is why, for the most part, we don't even discuss these early season games.
So that's why.
Unless they go terribly wrong, there's not much to say. Unless, to quote Dog's Eye View. By the way, do you want to text him,
I
Mr.
did.
Producer?
So I asked him if he was good, and he just said, hang tight.
What?
Not yet. That's what he said.
All right, I know that this
I
is a
know.
bit, but we have to at some point say, and I mean this. This is where you got to be a producer. All right. At some point, you have to have a conversation. Say, hey, we got to know what you can do. We can't just leave the show hanging around you. Like, we got to know if we should do a show, book guests, all that sort of stuff. We can't just do it this way moving forward. This is producing. All right. This is
All right.
in the big show. They never would allow something like this to happen.
Right.
I've put up with it because we have got this silly thing, but at some point we do have to tie it back in together, and this is getting out of control. And like I think he thinks it's a funny bit, and we got to have a conversation at some point. That all being said, what was the numbers?
From three, Maryland was 14 for 30, 46.7% from three.
The only thing you can say,
They missed 9 free throws, 31 for 40.
that's still pretty.
Yeah, that was
What is
over
that? That's-
77%.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not bad at all, really.
Well,
You say
free throws.
when you
They're
lead with it.
free.
I understand, but when you lead with saying they missed 9, like, oh, that sounds terrible. Let me say, because they were 31 of 40. You're like, well, wait a second. That math isn't quite as bad as you made it out to be. I don't want to be completely dismissive, because the one thing that you could say is they were even missing open threes at the beginning of the year. So even if you want to try to look at the opponent and say, hey, don't read into the opponent with the final score, right? Like, the final score doesn't really tell you all that much about Maryland. Anything that looks like rhythm from outside, anything at all, is a positive for this team, because they've been dreadful. I mean, an abomination from beyond the arc. So that's the only thing that I'll give you from a game against Alcorn State, is that you hope any rhythm at all from beyond the arc can carry over against anyone. If they had played a middle school team last night, the problem wasn't just that they were missing contested or defended threes. The problem was they were missing everything. Open looks. They were missing. No one could buy a shot from outside. So making any shots at all from outside, we would say, is somewhat of a positive. Somewhat. I don't want to overread into it, but somewhat of a positive for Maryland basketball, and you hope they can build off of that moving forward. The other only real news from yesterday is the Ravens signed Malik Cunningham off the Patriots practice squad. Interesting. They had a roster spot come open. Unfortunately, Devin Duvernay has to go to IR with whatever the back injury is that he's dealing with, although the reporting yesterday suggested that he could be back for the playoffs. I have no idea, like, what the intent is for Malik Cunningham. Is the intent for him to be a receiver? Is the intent that he's here to be a quarterback? The Ravens of all teams, like the irony of maybe taking a former Louisville quarterback and saying, You're not a quarterback, would be kind of thick, I guess. I don't know what the plan, or, if he's on board with being a Weapon X type, with being a Cordell Stewart type, and they were perhaps interested in it, coming out of the draft, and they said, if he's up for it, we'd like to consider that possibility. I'm not a fan of the gadget stuff. Like, that's what you do when you don't have someone who's good enough. That's a high school thing, is gadget. Like, if you have a couple of gadget trick plays, if you trust Malik Cunningham enough to be on the field as a wide receiver to then pull out a gadget play that involves him throwing the ball as a wide receiver or off like a jet sweep, something like that, all good. But you've got to trust him enough to be on the field as a wide receiver. And we can giggle about this, but you actually have depth at wide receiver right now. Who's Malik Cunningham getting on the field over? Is he getting on the field over Nelson Aguilar?
Right.
There's no world. Nelson Aguilar has been remarkable. It's so hard to compare this, right? Because Odell Beckham to me has lived up to expectations, if not somewhat surpassed them. Nelson Aguilar to me has wildly surpassed expectations. And I get he's not been Odell Beckham, but my expectations for Nelson Aguilar were
barely make the team.
Correct. Yeah. Were about what they were for Laquan Treadwell. And he's been great in comparison to that. So I just don't know how Malik Cunningham makes the field. So then the next question is he here to be a quarterback? And Griffin and I talked about this yesterday after the news came out. I would argue Malik Cunningham's skill set might be even a little bit closer to Lamar's than Tyler Huntley's is. So that world where you say, hey, have quarterbacks that most closely resemble your starting quarterback when you're trying to build depth. Malik Cunningham certainly does not have Lamar Jackson's arm, but obviously Tyler Huntley doesn't either. I still don't think you're playing Malik Cunningham over Tyler Huntley. I guess the question becomes, is Josh Johnson the odd man out? Like, I can't fathom you're carrying 4 quarterbacks.
And I guess that's why the question is, they're not going to use him as a quarterback, at least not this year, I guess.
Look, I'm not trying to
I know, because it makes that there's no one on this team that you're saying, yeah, let's give Malik Cunningham a shot over this guy.
What has he done any returning?
I saw somebody point that out. Definitely not in the NFL.
I can't imagine they had their starting quarterback returning kicks at Louisville.
Yeah.
I can't fathom that was something they ever did.
Go back to his middle school days,
If this is about we're making a decision for next year, that like next year, I don't even know what Tyler Huntley's contract situation is.
I believe he's going to be a free agent, I would think, right? Because
let me double check. Yes,
yeah.
Tyler Huntley's a free agent at the end of the year. If this is their way of saying we think someone is willing to pay actual money to Tyler Huntley, and I'm skeptical of that, but maybe it's any money at all, right? Like maybe in their world, and they're looking at their cap situation, what they're saying is, let's get Malik in here. Let's tell him, dude, you're going to be the backup quarterback next year. We're letting Snoop go dip into the waters. We're letting him find out if there's somebody that's willing to pay him $4 million next year to be a backup quarterback, and we just can't spend, in doing our cap structuring, we can't spend that much money on a backup quarterback because of what we're paying to our starting quarterback. Although the word is that the cap is going to go up pretty sizably again next year. We can't spend any money at all, like any money, on a backup quarterback because of what we're paying Lamar. So what we're going to do is we're going to just let him find out. We love him, but we're going to let him find out if there's somebody that's willing to let him come in, somebody who's drafting a quarterback that would like to have him as their walking buddy for the quarterback they draft, or that's just willing to pay a little bit money for a backup quarterback because their quarterback isn't quite as good and they're not paying him. Whatever that situation is, we're going to let him go do that because we've just decided now we're not paying more than $1 million or $2 for a backup quarterback. We can't make that work. We have to pay minimums for backup quarterbacks given the amount that we're paying for Lamar. If that's the case, then I could see this making a little bit of sense. I still don't know how you use them on your active roster, and maybe you just feel like you have an active roster spot to waste for a little while. Hey, we got to have some inactives on game days anyway. We might as well make one of them Malik Cunningham if he's going to be part of our plans then moving forward. It's probably not worth as much time as we've spent on it. It would be interesting to see if they try to figure out a way. I guess the only thing I wouldn't like, the only thing I'd be opposed to, is them trying to force a gadget play to justify Malik Cunningham being on the roster right now. Either you like him enough to play him as a wide receiver, or just leave it alone. That's what I would say. If you don't like him enough to play him regularly, then the moment he goes on the field, everybody on the other team says, that's weird. The guy they won't play is suddenly out on the field. I wonder why that is. So the idea of, that feels forced to me, trying to create gadget plays for Malik Cunningham if he's not in your regular rotation of wide receivers.
So it sounds like in New England, this is from Nesson.com, Zach Cox. He was reporting in August that it sounds like over the summer, like OTAs and stuff, he was working out a lot with the wide receivers and was doing some occasional kick returning. They were using him as a gunner as well, apparently, before they got to training camp, and then they were using him almost exclusively in the quarterback room. So,
maybe, but I don't think that he would go above any of the other return. That occasionally running around with the returners doesn't seem like it would put him. Clearly, after what he did, Tylan Wallace gets to be the returner for now. I guess the question is, does he get to be kick returner? I think he gets to be punt returner, obviously. I don't know who gets to be kick returner. Would that be Justice Hill, who would be the primary kick returner instead? That's the part I didn't pay enough attention. Maybe we learned that lesson, and I should feel silly. I only know that it was Tylan Wallace because he returned one for a punt or a touchdown. Who ended up taking the kick?
I'm fine with just fair cashing every single.
Kick return or punt return?
I don't know. All of them.
Okay.
Maybe, I guess not punt return.
I think they want to try to. Yeah. I don't know.
Kick returns, I mean, there's no reason to ever return one.
We have to know who did the kick returning. We have to have the answer from that in the box score.
I mean, it's quite possible, they did fair catch it or went through the end zone every time. So
yeah, they did. But I guess we would have known who was lined up. But I wasn't paying attention. That's the problem. Is I just didn't.
Just rewatch the game real quick.
Yeah, I want you to go through every play and find out who was lined up as the kick returner. Yeah, there was only one kick return during the game, and it was Devin Duvernay. So the box score can't give us that.
When did Duvernay go out?
I'm not sure, but the opening kickoff of overtime, he definitely wasn't on the field for. I don't think. I don't think he was. I think he went out before that. So we can check on that. All right. Any update, or are we just moving forward?
There is no update. Yeah, we'll move forward.
Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. Either he's coming in now, or we're gonna give him, ask him if he wants to call him.
Okay.
We're calling it one way or the other. We'll take a break. We can deal with this during break. Imagine getting stood up by Drew Forrester. Like, imagine that. And I just let it happen. Got to tighten up around these parts. Today's show brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Brace yourselves for an unparalleled game day experience at the new Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live in-person betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between a person-to-person experience with their on-site tellers or the convenience of their self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, the ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Todd Karpovich profiles the Orioles survivors: Anthony Santander, Austin Hayes, Cedric Mullins, and Ryan Mountcastle, who all came from the previous regime but stuck through tough times to be key pieces in guiding the franchise back to prominence. Also inside, we remember the iconic Brooks Robinson with tributes from Jim Henneman and myself, Stan the Fan Charles, and a trip down memory lane to remember the most significant moments of his career. Plus, we meet players from college basketball programs around the state. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Visit Harford County. Gear up for the holidays by supporting local with Small Business Saturday on November 25th. Take in the dazzling sights of the season with a Ladue Christmas at Ladue Topiary Gardens. Enjoy holiday lights, sing along to holiday songs, reserve a carriage ride, and sit on Santa's lap in Bel Air's Winter Wonderland, happening every Saturday from November 25th until December 16th. Nothing sparks that holiday joy quite like a festive parade. Head to visitharford.com and click on Events to see the full list of parades and so much more. In Maryland, you're welcome.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Don't forget about Project Game Day after every Ravens game this season. It's kind of like this show, except Rita's also there, so I actually think it's pretty good. But hey, you're already here now, so why don't you go ahead and keep listening to GCR?
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Today's show also brought to you by Superbook. Go right now to superbook.com, download the Superbook app, use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up, and you will receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match, win or lose. As Griffin pointed out, the number is, again, very small for tomorrow night. The total is 34 at Superbook. And if you, like Griffin, say, yeah, but it's the Raiders, they scored 0 points, and Josh Jacobs didn't practice yet this week. And then the Chargers are starting, we think, Easton Stick. So I don't know how they're going to get to a combined 34 points. Now, again, are we doing a double or nothing bet this week?
What's the double or nothing? So if it goes under, then you're...
No, I'm not. I have nothing to
Then
do
what's
with
double or
this.
nothing?
I'm not the... No, you... I didn't make the bet last week.
You
This
made
is
me make the bet,
like,
though.
No, I didn't make you do anything.
So what does
Don't
double or
even
nothing
attempt
do?
to.
What does
I'm
double or
saying
nothing
that,
even
like,
do?
if you really are married to the unders...
No, I'm not
then-
going in my underwear again if the under doesn't hit.
Well, it was very popular. Our friend Wendy from 98 Rock, I think, wants to come in and do a show with you in your underwear. I think you might have an admirer, in fact. I'd say you do the entire drinking show in your underwear.
No.
Come on, man.
No. I'm already
This
going to have
is
to eat a
your
panettone.
bit. Yeah, that was. I don't know what that was all about. Come on.
Don't know.
Why not?
No. I'll celebrate my...
Then what does this
Small
mean? What is the
winnings.
point of any of this?
It's a good question.
I don't know. That's life?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking? Get to superbook.com. Use that code GlennClark23 when you sign up, and you'll receive up to $250 in a same-day first bet match. I want you to think about being more sportly about this.
I already was
I
in my
understand,
underwear
but,
last week.
but then you're trying to get away with like, well, I'm going back to it, going back to the well, but you don't want to put anything on it.
I want you to have to be in your
I
underwear
have
as well.
nothing to do with this.
You were making me do it.
No, I'm not. I'm not the primetime under guy. That's you. You're the guy who's all over the unders. That's you, not me. I got nothing to do with that. I'd say bet. You know what? You know what advice I gave this week? I said bet the Titans. How did that work out?
Worked out pretty
Remember
good.
the Titans is what I said. It was I came up with that concept.
Wow, you came
I
up
did.
with
It was a hell of an idea. Should turn it into a book or maybe a movie or something. I'm gonna look into that. All right, what's going on with him? Drew Forrester, Drew'sMorningDish.com. What? Like, I thought you were supposed to be over here.
I was, but we're busy and we got stuff going on, and I got behind, and
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. And then
didn't I do a show in my underwear once?
I think you did
I
most
don't even know
shows
what
in
the
your
big-
underwear. I think that was.
Well, I didn't do most of them, but something happened once, and I said something dumb like, "If that happens, I'll do a show in my underwear."
Did you?
I think I did a show in my underwear
I
way
don't-
before Griffin did one in his.
Well, Griffin might not have been alive then. You're 1,000 years old.
Right. I'm pretty sure I'm 90% sure I did. A show
I don't
in
know
my
why.
underwear.
I don't remember that, but I believe you. It's a bit. He's trying to
Yeah.
turn it around on me and make it seem like he started the sentence. I said you should put something at stake because he was so enamored with the under in the Steelers-Patriots game last week.
Should have hit.
He was
Right.
and his sentence started this way, like, well, because it's the under, maybe my underwear. And I was like, oh, you'll do tomorrow's show in your underwear. And he was like, yeah, all right. And now he's trying to be like, oh, you forced me to do it. No,
did
no,
force
no,
me
no,
to
no,
do
no.
it.
No.
Put-
The Army Navy under hit, right?
No, it did not.
Oh, because it was 27.
Yeah.
Yep.
The safety at the end of the game was the difference in the under missing in the Army-Navy game. So
I love it.
He's going back to the well for tomorrow night, but he
course.
won't put anything at stake for it. He's
I
now
had some obscure, I don't even know who it was because I was so despondent. I had some obscure game at 145.5 2 nights ago, and the final was like 78, 77 or
So,
something like
like-
that.
like-
So
This is
it was probably like
78.
It was probably Cal Poly Grand Canyon or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was something like 145.5 was the total, and the final was 78.68.
Just a reminder that if you
Like,
were if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygambling.org for free confidential services. All right.
It's unbelievable.
All right. So what is
So
this?
anyway,
You're doing a thing this week.
I'm doing it right now. We're starting today.
Okay. What is your thing?
So we every year we do this event called Christmas for Everyone, where we get toys and clothing from all of our parishioners and students at school, and we then give them away to families in this 21286-21234 neighborhood, and they come in for 2 days and basically shop.
Well, that seems nice. That seems nice.
Yeah, so that's what we do, and we're getting ready to start here in another hour or so, and it'll be chaotic for 2 days, and then all of our good deeds will be done, and we can go back to just frolicking and sinning.
No. You and I still have good deeds that we need to do. This is the problem that I run into with you is I'm competing against other things you're trying to do in December.
Right.
We've got a big week.
I got it
next
all
week.
handled.
Do
I
you?
know.
Do you though? Do you have it all handled? Honestly?
Yeah. I'll meet you Wednesday.
We got to do Monday first, Chief.
Gotcha. I'll be there for that. It's a Chick-fil-A, right?
Yes.
You know I'm coming for that.
That's a fact. All right, Monday night, Drew and I will be at Chick-fil-A Nottingham Square. That's on Campbell Boulevard. It's not the one in the White Marsh Mall. Don't go to the one in the White Marsh Mall. We won't be there. I mean, you can go. I'm not going to, maybe you'll have a nice night. But we won't be there, and neither will Michael Pierce. Michael Pierce of the Baltimore Ravens is going to be with us at Chick-fil-A Nottingham Square on Monday night. From the goodness of his heart, because, and I mean this, he's one of the best people I know. Michael Pierce said, I will be there. He doesn't want, in fact, when I told him I would pay him to do an appearance, Michael Pierce said, I don't want you to. He was like upset with the notion that I was going to pay him. Michael Pierce is just coming out to meet you guys in hopes that you will help us collect items that we need for Helping Up Mission. So what we need you to do, on Monday night, go do some Christmas shopping. Like at 5 o'clock, go over to Target there in White Marsh. Run inside, get some soap, some deodorant, some hair stuff, the men at Helping Up Mission, they need razors and shaving cream. Go get some new underwear. And for men and for women, like they also need like pajamas and diapers too, because they now have the women's shelter and there's kids that are there. Go over and buy at least $25 worth of that stuff and then bring it over to Chick-fil-A Nottingham Square, and you can get a picture, an autograph from Michael Pierce, who's in the midst of, his best season in the NFL. If you can't make the time to stop over, we'll take a donation in the form of cash. You can either give us money or make a PayPal or a Venmo or a Cash App or something like that, and we will handle that as well. That's Monday night at Chick-fil-A Nottingham Square. We'll be there with Michael Pierce of the Baltimore Ravens. Please make your plans right now to come join us. And we also ask that you share it with your friends this weekend. Like, that's such a small thing. Please put it on your – I'm going to share it out today on Facebook and on Twitter. Please put it on your Facebook and your Twitter so that more people know that that's what we're doing, so we can have a bigger crowd. Is there anything else that everybody needs to know about next week?
No. I mean, I think it's always one of the more fun nights of the holiday season.
100%.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to that. And bring your kids, bring your family, bring the whole thing. It'll be a very,
and
very
come hungry.
fun night. Yeah, correct. No doubt about it.
Come hungry so we can all eat Steve's food.
That's correct. All right. What are you hot and bothered about this week?
Just that whole overtime fiasco.
What do you mean the fiasco?
Well, not overtime. I'm sorry, all sides.
Oh, the Kansas City Chiefs thing?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you hot and bothered about that?
Well, why do you think?
Oh, because did you bet on the game? I'm sorry. I'm
kidding.
So
I mean, I don't even know what people are upset about. Like, the dude lined up all sides, and I'm probably the same as most people. Like, I don't like seeing games impacted. By the way, they weren't winning for sure.
Yeah, the Buffalo was going to have a lot of time left, yes, if they got the ball.
Right. But I get it. The dude lined up all sides. What
Well,
I mean, what are you going to do? We picking and choosing which calls these guys are going to make and not make?
Yeah, correct. The idea that, like, well, something cool happened on the play, so we got to pick up that flag because it was cool. Like, it's utter and complete nonsense.
And this is it's always seen through the lens of your team. If that happens against the Ravens, everybody's howling, saying a game shouldn't be impacted like that. And if it happens in favor of the Ravens, everybody's like, gotta make the call. But in the end, what do you want these refs to do? Do you want them to call the game the right way, or do you? Well,
that to me is.
I've seen enough of them to know.
Right.
I'd rather them just call the game.
By far, that's the most hilarious part about all of this. The most hilarious part about all of this is, do you know how wrong do you have to be for us to side with NFL officials in 2023? Like, how wrong does Patrick Mahomes have to be about this for us to find ourselves saying, you know who got this right? The NFL officials. Like, that's how wrong you have to be because they're terrible. And yet we're on their side on this one. Dude, I'm with you. And then the other thing too is, there's this group of people that think they're particularly smart that say, well, the way that you fix this is by blowing that play dead, right? Like if you're going to call offensive offsides, which as Terry McCauley pointed out on Sunday night, they're now calling. Apparently, they put an emphasis on it this year. I've wondered about this for a long time, dude. I've looked at the neutral zone about 1 billion times and said, there's 6 guys offsides on certain plays. Like, we're not even close at this point. It's the weirdest thing that's going on in football in recent years. But if that's going to be an emphasis moving forward, this smart guy argument is just blow the play dead. But we don't do that on defensive offsides. We allow the offense to have a free play, right? So why would we take away the opportunity for the defense to do the same thing? Why would it be that on a play where maybe they get a sack and cause a 9-yard loss, we say, well, you're not allowed to have that opportunity because there was an offensive offsides and we're afraid that there's going to be a cool play that happens and then people are going to be mad that we took it away. Like, dude, they handled everything about that the right way that they should have, and that I think we should want them to moving forward. It's a bummer because it was a neat play, but that's what it is. Like, if there's a cool interception return on a play where the defense was offsides, that gets wiped off too.
Right. No, I mean, I'm with you. Like, it's baffling people. I mean, it's just the way it is. People just watch the game. I used to say this all the time. When Flacco got the ball knocked out of his hand by Palomalu, Flacco's got no field vision. Flacco choked, Flacco whatever. But if Suggs would have done that to Roethlisberger, Suggs is a beast.
Yeah, that's true. That's 100%.
Like, we just see the game. It's like the other day when that kid made that unbelievable catch on Humphrey, like an incredible catch. If that's OBJ, everyone goes to Twitter and talks about how much of a rock star he is. But when that kid makes that catch on Humphrey, Humphrey's washed. Humphrey sucks.
Well, okay.
It's unbelievable.
He didn't have a great game in general, Marlon Humphrey.
No. I'm just using that.
I get it.
I'm just using that as an example. Like, we always do that. We see it.
Correct. We see it
through our lens. And this is the problem, and I got to go because I got 3 people here yelling at me. The thing I can't get over is if you and most people that are on these social media platforms either portray as if they know sports or kind of come right out and say, I know sports. If you think you know sports and you watch these games and this league, you might as well at the beginning of the game, you might as well buckle up and say, this thing's going down to the last 3 minutes. Because 85% of them go down to the last 3 minutes.
They have a tendency to.
They're very rarely are they ever 38-10.
All right, before you rhyme.
Somebody always has a chance.
The Ravens are the 1 seed again. Are they going to finish as the 1 seed?
Of course.
Of course, you say. You're very confident
That's
in that.
Yeah, they're strolling right in. And then it just depends on – I've already gone into the playoff machine and plugged all the teams in. I got Denver playing Kansas City in the first round. And then you never know what happens there. We might see Denver here.
You are far more confident about it than I am, but I appreciate that.
Well, I bet you a Chinese lunch. Another one.
Yeah, I was going to say you already owe us one. When we get in that?
I bet you another one.
Double or nothing. You want to go?
Yep.
I'm not the
I just
betting.
want to go twice.
I'm not the betting type myself. All right.
Well, we're on.
I'm not. I actually think they're gonna get the 1 seed, but like we'll talk about that.
Oh,
another
all right,
time.
I'll take the other way then. I'll say they won't.
They're very good. Done. Chinese lunch on that. Monday night, Chick-fil-A Nottingham Square. Come join us. Michael Pierce is going to be there. It's going to be a great night. Appreciate you, brother. Talk to you then.
All right, see you. Bye.
It's Drew Forrester, drewsmorningdish.com with us. All right, let's get into Would You Rather Wednesday. Would You Rather Wednesday is brought to you by Birdland Sports. Number 1, would you rather? I've seen the future. The Ravens are the number 1 seed.
Ooh.
Would you rather their potential path to the Super Bowl be Kansas City and Jacksonville or Miami and Buffalo?
Man. Kansas City and Jacksonville. I think I would rather Miami and Buffalo.
Why? This is where you like I know you're new to this, but when you do a show, it's yes and.
Because Miami, I don't know, because Buffalo and Miami, they haven't, I mean, Buffalo's obviously made a couple AFC championships, but, they haven't kind of won it. I don't know why I'm more scared of Trevor Lawrence. It's mostly because Patrick Mahomes is in the other option. But Trevor Lawrence had that crazy comeback last year.
Mm-hmm.
So
against the Chargers.
Against the Chargers, Brandon Staley Chargers.
Yeah.
But that's still in the back of my mind. And plus, it's Patrick Mahomes. So to avoid Patrick Mahomes, I would take that route. Buffalo, they still don't look right. Obviously, they got to win.
I think they look more right than Kansas City does at the moment.
I don't know. Kansas City still has Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know if you heard. They played on Sunday. The game happened in Kansas City.
Now Patrick knows that
he
has to line up his wide receivers himself.
That's the problem. He's not going to have new wide receivers by the time we get to the playoffs.
He's going to have to make sure he.
It's
when
funny
Brady's like Gronk, stand up.
Because
he's gonna say, Tony, back up.
2 weeks ago, even a week ago, I probably would have said the same thing. I've continued to do with like the until Patrick Mahomes is dead, would rather not play Patrick Mahomes. But we at some point have to acknowledge what's happening there. It ain't right.
Plus Miami.
There is a problem.
It's banged up
in Kansas City. I mean,
they lost their center for the year.
That
Tyreek might not. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Tyreek.
Yeah, if I knew Tyreek Hill was out, I would feel much more strongly about that. Without knowing that,
they seem to do good. The Ravens seem to do good in these kind of revenge games, like the Tennessee. Like when they beat Tennessee.
I believe the term you're looking for is well.
They do.
They do well.
They do well.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
But like when I think about the Titans game, and then they came back the next year and beat the Titans in the playoffs. They last time they played Buffalo at Buffalo, they looked really bad. So I would think that would be still in the back of the mind.
5 years ago.
That was
the game wouldn't be in Buffalo this year.
The game. I mean, it's still going to be the Buffalo Bills, and Lamar Jackson played that game and lost to the Bills
in horrible wins. And because J.K. Dobbins whiffed on a block.
They're just going to accept that loss? They're just going to be accepting of that loss?
You just think that that's going to fire them up?
Yeah.
I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, it will.
Wow.
I want the Bills. Give me the Bills in Baltimore. When is it? January 27th or something?
Very, very confident
28th.
about that. This one
you call me.
This one is split. John Proctor, Casey, and Jacksonville, I think. Miami offense is dangerous. We owe the Jags for last year still. Make them come here. It's hilarious. These are back-to-back tweets that I got from JT. Miami and Buffalo easily. From Mark, obviously Kansas City and Jacksonville. It's like...
It is obvious.
It's not obvious in any way. That's the reason why it works as a Would You Rather Wednesday question, and we're getting split answers.
If it was...
I do understand that there will be people that will constantly just Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Like, I understand the people that feel that way. And of all of the players on either of these teams that you'd be facing, I would agree. He's the best player. Although this year, Tyreek Hill is better.
What if we say the Ravens are the 2 seed, and then you throw in Browns, Steelers?
We're not doing that, Griffin. We're setting up Would You Rather Wednesday.
I'm setting up another Would You Rather.
No.
Would you rather the Chiefs,
I tell you
Steelers,
what,
Jags?
Next week, if all of the primetime unders hit this week, you can set up Would You Rather Wednesday. All right?
All right, deal.
If all of them hit,
What are we counting Saturday?
Just the prime
rule
time.
out.
Just the night game.
Okay, just the 8 o'clock.
So we do Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Four primetime games this week.
Got to go 4 for 4.
If the unders go 4 for 4, would you rather
what if we do like a primetime under teaser?
No.
Why not?
What do you want? You want an additional point on all of the games? I'll give you one more point.
One more point.
No, I take that back. Too hard to follow. We're making it too difficult. You got to go 4 for 4 on the unders, and then Would You Rather Wednesday is yours. Number two, would you rather go into 2024 with Bryce Young as the quarterback of your favorite team, or with Tommy Cutlets DeVito as the quarterback of your favorite team?
So we don't know what team it is.
Nope.
Okay. Bryce Young. You have to go with Bryce Young.
You don't have to go with Bryce Young.
I think
you don't have to go with Bryce Young. This is the problem. Bryce Young has been
NFC
such an
Offensive Player of the Week.
I understand that, and I'm doing this a little tongue in cheek, but it's also a little bit to point out like what an unmitigated disaster the Bryce Young thing is at the moment. What you're falling back on is, well,
he's number one overall.
Like we somebody else should give him a chance. You know, Josh Rosen.
Yeah, I mean Josh Rosen.
What I get it. He might not have been the number 1 overall pick, but
there's got to be something there with Bryce Young. Like it can't
dude,
be.
it is an unmitigated disaster. It genuinely.
And it doesn't feel like it's, all his fault. I mean, it has been a very,
it's
very
now multiple
awful
head coaches.
situation.
It's not. If you want to say the Panthers organization is toxic, that's fine. But dude, you're still on the field. I don't think David Tepper can control what happens on the football field.
He went 13 for 36 on Sunday.
Dude, it's unmitigated. We're not really talking about it because why would you talk about a terrible team? But it really does become a question to me of there's only 32 jobs available, so someone's going to take the job. But if a coach you want is in play for any other job, this is really the conversation. It's not clearly Tommy DeVito is not going to be the Giants quarterback next year, and I don't think they're moving on from Brian Dable. But the measurement is what would the comparison be? Think about all the jobs that could become available this offseason. Would you rather have Bryce Young or would you rather have
Justin Herbert?
Well, that's an obvious one. The Chargers job will probably be the most desirable job there is, because they have a proven commodity at quarterback.
Did they say Ben Johnson was interested, or he's just, I guess, the Panthers' top pick?
Well, I don't think that Ben Johnson would be willing to talk about that. I mean,
yeah, I guess you're right.
I mean, that would be very bizarre if Ben Johnson was openly talking about another job. What a weird bit that would be. If you were, if the Patriots move on from Bill Belichick as reported, would you rather have a drafted quarterback or Bryce Young?
I mean, Patriots will probably be
the number 2 pick.
Yeah. I mean, yes, you obviously want the Patriots job. Plus, it's.
Would you rather have
an organization that is?
Would you rather go to Carolina and have Bryce Young, or go to Washington, where either it's going to be Sam Howell or a drafted quarterback?
Probably Washington. I feel like ownership will be more behind you as well.
Yeah.
In Washington,
I think it's.
Any of the other NFC South teams.
I know it's a little silly, but when we say it has to be Bryce Young, I don't agree with you. I think we have to acknowledge that the Bryce Young thing might be kind of poisonous. Somebody's going to take a chance and is going to have that opportunity, but
I mean,
it's bad, man.
It sucks for him.
Who, for Bryce Young?
Yeah. I feel like
he's just not good. Sometimes guys are just not good.
And it's been 12, 13 games.
I understand that, but it's one thing if he was disappointing. This isn't disappointing. This is borderline incompetent. That's
his. I mean, he's got no one around him. He's got no offensive line. Adam Thielen is 30. How old is Thielen now? 31.
Adam
32.
Thielen was pretty good.
He was good. Yeah, when Bryce Young was able to get the ball out on time. When he had time back there,
I can't.
A little bit of time.
I think you're
Bryce
making
Young
apologies for
Bryce Young is definitely the answer to this.
You keep using the word definitely.
Because he definitely is. He's the number 1 overall pick.
That's just what you're falling back on
his
so that means that he has to
ceiling
be because of where he was
is
picked.
still leagues
This is
higher.
one of the problems that by the way, this is a big talking point in the football right now, which is what you're saying is hurting teams. The way that we are viewing players because of where they were drafted has been a problem for a long time, right? Like that we have to stick it out with this guy because he was a high draft pick, whereas this guy who's actually been a better football player, we might end up allowing to walk because he wasn't a higher draft pick. It's a problem that has faced football teams for a very long time.
And it will continue.
And that's the problem. But you have to acknowledge it's a problem. You're saying it like it's the way it should be. It shouldn't be that way. You should just pick the best football players.
If I was the Chargers right now, and for some reason Bryce Young and DeVito were available, I think you have to give Bryce Young a shot.
I think all these teams would be inclined to give Bryce Young the shot. I say all of them. I don't know if all of them would be. I think most of them would be inclined. I bet there are some teams that say, dude, we would have in a million years never drafted Bryce Young because of his size. We would have just never drafted someone that size to be our quarterback. And we never will. Like, I think there will be teams that will eternally say that. Will just say, if you're not big enough, we don't care how much skill you have. You're never going to be our quarterback. Number 3, would you rather? You're Mike Vrabel.
So your answer is DeVito?
Nah, it's probably Bryce Young.
Unbelievable.
It's not definitely, though.
I think
that's the absurd part about it. You're Mike Vrabel. Would you rather remain the Titans coach next offseason with Will Levis as your quarterback, or go home to New England, likely with Drake May as your quarterback?
Wow.
By the way, we have to point out there would probably have to be a trade, so you'd probably have to give up like a 2025 first rounder in the process.
That's a tough one. But you keep your 24 first.
Yeah, you use that. You're not giving up the number 2 overall pick
for Mike Vrabel.
Yes, that's not happening.
Man.
Yeah.
I think if you're in New England, you got to figure out how to do it.
Oh, I think New England's going to be heavy after Mike Vrabel this off, if they really are moving on from Belichick, which we assume.
Gosh, that is tough. I mean, is Will Levis just? I don't know. Will Levis probably better than I don't know why, but my comparison is Kenny Pickett. I guess that back end first round. I guess he was 20th overall. But it feels like Will Levis just kind of has that that indescribable quality of just you want to say he's a gamer, that kind of thing. But I think probably New England.
You going home?
Yeah, I'm gonna go home.
You feel like you could be that guy, you're conquering hero,
Matt Judon will be back next year. There's pieces.
Yeah, you still don't really. You say there's pieces. There really aren't pieces. There really aren't. They have no receivers. They have no.
Mario Douglas.
Sure. They have no receivers.
Just lost Malik Cunningham.
Yeah, that's right. There really aren't pieces there. It's a rough.
Juju. I guess I don't know. What deal? How long was his deal?
I have no idea if he signed for more than 1 year. It's bad, man. It's bad. That's the only thing I would point out. I don't know how many pieces for the future they have in Tennessee, because Derrick Henry probably can't keep doing this for another 5 years. DeAndre Hopkins probably can't keep doing this for another 3 years. You could argue there's not really that many pieces. Plus, it kind of gives you a fresh slate somewhere where, the heat's no longer on you. I think I'm probably with you, and I would go ahead and get out and try to go back to New England, where, again, you show up beloved on day one and get maybe a little bit more a
get
greater,
all of your guys.
A honeymoon phase there, if you will. All right. What the hell? We'll go ahead and do number 4, and we'll take a break after Ryan leaves.
Okay.
Number 4 is, would you rather? Gunnar Henderson will sign a 10-year extension tomorrow.
All right.
But only if you're willing to consume one meal every week during that deal, prepared by TikTok chef weirdo Barfly7777. Are you familiar with his work?
I am not. I have to eat. What of his? I have to eat
once a week?
One
meal every week
for the entirety of the deal.
He prepares all of his meals in bathrooms.
Oh God. Clean bathrooms?
You could look if you'd like.
Oh, God.
I shared his Instagram.
Oh, what the heck? Is TikTok's not loading?
I mean, you could look. I think his Instagram has the same videos, I think, if you need.
French onion.
Yeah, that looked tasty.
Soup.
Boy, that looked appealing.
His bathroom looks clean.
Ish.
All Okay, so what's the deal? I have to.
You have to eat one meal every week prepared by that guy, and you get Gunnar Henderson to sign a 10-year deal, or you just take your chances.
1 week for how long? The 10 years?
10 years.
The 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Why does he do this?
I don't know.
I guess so we talk about it.
Yep.
Let me watch one more of his. Let me find something.
He did one on an airplane, apparently. He made shrimp and mashed potatoes in an airplane bathroom.
No, what is he doing?
Yeah.
This is hotel ribs.
Oh, the ribs. Yeah, that didn't look great either. The
And
hotel.
he uses the bat like the little trash can that.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Ew! And he puts the meat right.
Yeah,
on
I'm aware.
The counter.
I'm aware.
I'm not gonna be able to see the duration of Gunner's deal. I'm gonna die from.
Well, he's not dead yet.
Ew.
You
Okay,
have to
let's
answer the question because we got to call Ryan Leaf.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's sign Gunner.
Sometimes a hero comes along.
Let me see what the final
Thanks,
product
Griffin.
of these ribs at least looks like. Will it look appetizing?
The
Hold
ribs were the ones actually that looked better than some of the other ones did.
on that mac and cheese. Damn. I mean,
Right.
if you walked in here, I would say no, I'm not eating that. But
Yeah.
to sign Gunner.
I was going to say, because that's actually going to be our next side bet, is that we have to make a bathroom meal.
Oh God. Okay.
Proctor said he watched the airplane bathroom one. I watched that one too. That one was no.
God.
No.
What did he make in the airplane?
He made shrimp and mashed potatoes. Yeah. No. Solid no on that one. All right. Hour number 1 of today's show is in the books. It has also been brought to you by Project Game Day, which returns this Sunday night following Ravens-Jaguars. Come hang out with me and Rita and Femi and probably KZ, Josh Charles, Andrew Stecca, the whole crew. We'll see. It's a night game, so sometimes not everybody can stay up to hang out with us for those. But come join us. We'll be with you. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. Project Game Day is brought to you by AJ Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. We will see you Sunday night for Project Game Day. That's, of course, after Ravens-Jaguars. And speaking of Ravens-Jaguars, our next guest will be on the call for Ravens-Jaguars on Westwood One. He is former NFL quarterback, Mr. Ryan Leaf, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Ryan, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up with you, man. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Oh, you bet. Yeah, excited for this game for sure.
Yeah, this is a pretty good one, right? Like, not every game is made equal. This one's a lot of fun. I guess I'll start generically. The Ravens are now the 1 seed in the AFC, and everybody here is very excited. They have a very difficult schedule in front of them. Given how they're playing, how confident are you at this point that the Ravens are the team to beat in the AFC?
Well, I've had them as the team to beat in the AFC for quite a while. In fact, I had them playing in the AFC Championship game before the season started. So this was – I just thought the Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson relationship was going to blossom, and it certainly has. There's been some things that have happened along the way. Of course, the Mark Andrews injury, but I've always liked Isaiah Likely and what he contributed coming out of Coastal there last year. So I thought he would be able to fit in, and I was just so pleasantly surprised with the defense and how well they're playing. Jadeveon Clowney, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Right? Maybe he put number 24 on, and it was all of a sudden like, yeah, I'm younger, I'm faster, I'm skinnier. This is how it works. I still think they are the team to beat in the AFC, but you're right. The schedule gets daunting. I actually thought this game with the Jags was going to be for the number 1 seed, but the Jags did not comply with 2 big losses over the last 2 weekends. And then having to go out to San Francisco. You can't fault the Ravens going out there and getting beat. Just a matter of whether they have that Dolphins game on New Year's Eve, which will be for the AFC's number 1 seed ultimately. And if everybody has to go through Baltimore, I think it's going to be really, really difficult for any team in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl if they have to do that.
Ryan, I wonder, I feel like there's people in Baltimore that would say this doesn't look perfect, right? Like, they have been a flawed team. They have allowed teams like the Colts and the Steelers to hang around long enough that they were able to beat them earlier in the year. And then even on Sunday, they struggled. They were far from perfect in a loss to the Rams, or a win over the Rams, sorry. And I feel like I found myself saying, hey, I get it. I get why you might have some concerns. They haven't looked. But it feels like that's also kind of the NFL in 2023, right? Like, outside of when the 49ers have been totally healthy, there aren't perfect teams. It's felt like everyone is kind of flawed, and the goal is to be the best of that group, correct?
I agree with you. I also will say this. Look around the landscape of the NFL this weekend. The Dolphins, found a way to lose to Tennessee, who has been awful on the road. And then you have the Giants find a way to win against a Packers team that all of a sudden was in the playoff hunt and had a chance to even run and threaten the Lions, and they don't get it done. The difference is this Ravens team didn't do what they've done earlier in this year by finding a way to lose to the Browns or finding a way to absolutely, throw a win out the window against the Steelers. I don't know. That game should have been, 31-10 ultimately, that game. Instead, they lose 17-10. And the Colts game, too. Earlier in the year, they lose that Rams game. They don't find a way to do it on special teams and get in the end zone with Wallace on that touchdown. They don't figure that out. And I think that shows that this team has continued to get better, and then they find ways to win those types of football games. I think that's the evidence that we saw this weekend in comparison to say that Miami, right? They were in the same type of boat as the Ravens were, and they found a way to lose it. And those are the types of things that you need to see happen at home against an opponent that is not up to your standards of talent and caliber this year, and they give you everything, but you still find a way to win it. And that's the difference, and that's what I thought was the difference on Sunday for this Ravens team.
He is Ryan Leaf. He is with us here on GCR. He'll be on the call Sunday night for Westwood One as the Ravens take on the Jaguars. Ryan, you mentioned Todd Monken earlier. Can you put your finger on what exactly he's done for Lamar Jackson, for this offense? Because I like Todd Monken, and I think there's been a lot of good things. I wonder, how much of it is him. How much of it is just the Ravens finally putting wide receivers on the field for a there was a moment, and we've talked about it a couple times, in Sunday's game, the 3rd and 17 touchdown to Zay Flowers was excellent. But part of that play is Nelson Aguilar, and we learned afterwards, coming to the huddle and saying, I'm going to take the cornerback out wide with me. I'm going to force him out there. So that's going to open up your lane to throw to Zay Flowers in the end zone. And I kept thinking to myself, my God, Nelson Aguilar is the 4th receiver on this team. And we're so used to the 4th receiver on the Ravens being, a 7th-round pick that never gets another look in the NFL at some point. Like, how much of it is Monken? How much of it is finally, putting together a really competent group of receivers for Lamar Jackson to work with?
That certainly helps. Don't get me wrong. But this is all Todd Monken, okay? This is all what this offensive coordinator has done. Coming back from the NFL, going to Georgia, and winning exactly with what he has here. He's, and this is not a slight on any of those wide receivers. Zay Flowers has been exceptional. Odell Beckham Jr. has come along. Rashad Bateman, he struggles with the ball in the air sometimes. Lamar would be doing this in this offense with whoever he had out at wide receiver. Seriously, Todd Monken's offense allows for someone like Nelson Aguilar to know in that moment because they practiced it during the week and they've seen it on film, and the way Todd coaches them up on everything, that gives them the freedom to do something like that in that moment to win. And I would argue that these wide receivers have relatively underperformed. The fact that Lamar only has 16 touchdown passes this year leads me to believe these guys are not getting the plays when they need to. There's been a bunch of drops. So, as far as this team goes, is it's going to be as far as Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson take this team. This wide receiver group has to be better down the stretch if they expect to win a Super Bowl or get back to a Super Bowl.
Ryan, we were talking in our last segment about, who else is scary. And it's funny because I do a silly, Would You Rather Wednesday thing. It's one of those dumb radio bits that we do. And you're a radio guy now, so you understand this.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about potential opponents. And I laid out the path. If the Ravens are the number 1 seed, would you rather their path to the Super Bowl be Jacksonville and Kansas City, or would you rather it be Miami and Buffalo? And it was interesting because it was very split, the responses that we got. But, as you would imagine, there's still a lot of people that think the ultimate trump card is Patrick Mahomes, right? Like, one of these teams is Patrick Mahomes. I don't want to face that guy in the playoffs. And I don't know how to feel about that because I've felt that way for a long time, but like it ain't right. There's something wrong there. I feel like we have to acknowledge that. Where are you with whether Kansas City is still a major threat once they get to the postseason just because Patrick Mahomes is breathing versus the wide receiver thing is so bad and it's become such a mess that even he might not be able to overcome it this year?
Yeah, man, don't wish that. You do not want to see the Slim Reaper, okay, out there, or whatever Andy Reid calls him.
Yeah.
You do not want to see Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, okay? If you can avoid him at all costs, do it. You do not want to see him. Guy does not know how to lose playoff games, really. He doesn't. He may not know what it's like to play a playoff game away from Arrowhead. That would be the first for him this year, if that's the case. But you do not want to see him, okay? If you can avoid him, avoid him. And it's not just him. It's Andy Reid, too. Andy Reid is part of that conversation. This is the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has ever had. If, by chance, his wide receivers step up a little bit, yeah, they're a problem. Because you look at all their losses this year, you can look at every single game, and you can pull a play. If it goes one way differently, they are on the winning side of it. There is a real chance that they are 12-1 right now, if not for some of these drop balls. And if that's evidence for you to believe that when you get into the playoffs, the receivers will continue to do the same thing, I get it. We've seen evidence of it all year long. The only game they have been out of this year is that Denver Broncos game, and it was when Patrick Mahomes was ill. So, yeah, you do not want to see that dude. You do not want to see that dude in the playoffs because if all things are equal, you're going to get beat by him, and that's the problem.
It feels like a big if, though, when you bring up the receivers, right? Like, it feels like a big if for if they can get going. We've been sitting here saying that for, like, weeks, and it's just not happening.
The thing about it is they've been in every game with that, you know?
That's fair.
And you saw how they stepped up. You saw how they stepped up in the Super Bowl. I mean, they were the difference. Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. The reason they won the Super Bowl was because of Kadarius Toney. So it's not out of the realm of possibility when you got to get 3 games to get back to the Super Bowl. If they go in as a wild card with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, you don't think he has a playoff scheme, a playoff offensive play call sheet that's going to be incredibly different than what anybody has seen all year long. Yeah, this is. Do not get overconfident with the fact that these wide receivers have been just as inept as you can be. It's fool's gold, and don't fall into that trap. Go into the game thinking, oh my God, we have to play our best possible game to beat this Chiefs team, or it's not going to be possible. Don't fall for that fool's gold in this situation, guys.
Who's your MVP right now, Ryan?
Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's my MVP by far.
That's so
right now. He's the best player in the NFL.
How do we measure that against how they looked when he didn't have those guys around? Ryan, I know I'm talking to a quarterback, right? So I understand what I'm up against when I try to make this argument. I watch the Dolphins game on Monday night, and I'm not a Tyreek Hill fan in any way. I kind of tend to dislike the guy from some of the stuff that we know about him that's happened away from the field. But what they look like when he's on the field versus when he's off the field, like, jumps off the page to me. Whereas Brock Purdy looked like a different guy when his guys were out than when they were on the field. How do we measure those things when we talk about the MVP race?
The only guy that was out was Deebo Samuel. That was the only guy that was out besides Trent Williams up front. I mean, as terms of skill position play, he still had Christian McCaffrey. He still had Brandon Ayuk. He still had George Kittle. He still had all those guys. Juwan Jennings is a great player. So, yeah, every great quarterback has had a great supporting cast. The reason they are great is because the quarterback facilitated that. You look back at the 49ers teams of Joe Montana and Steve Young, right? Jerry Rice, Taylor. You got Brent Jones, Roger Craig. I mean, Roger Craig is this version of Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I can't get over how people get lost with all that stuff right now. Of course, Tyreek Hill's good. He changes the game because of his speed. So, yeah, it's going to be a difference maker out there. But Tua is also very good at getting in the ball. There is a relationship built there. And so, yeah, I don't buy into this idea that these players are making the guy facilitating everything to these players is the one that is irreplaceable. I mean, why wasn't Trey Lance able to do this? Why wasn't Jimmy Garoppolo able to do this? And those 3 games, I also attribute to the fact that he had a concussion and no one did anything about it.
Yeah, that's
a big part in all this for me. And it continues to to be. Guys are trying to make their stamp. They want to be out on the field, but you can't walk away from the fact that he had a concussion and he tried to play. And those 3 game span, all of them, everybody was hurt. And what we've seen since and before that, I think is a really good relative data point to what Brock Purdy brings to the table.
All right, before we let you go, you mentioned the other side of Sunday night's game is, of course, the Jaguars. And I fear that maybe in Baltimore we're being too dismissive of them because of what's happened the last couple of weeks. How do you clearly they didn't have Trevor Lawrence at the end of the game 2 weeks ago, but he played most of that game, and they still figured out a way to lose. And, Jake Browning looked really good. And then, once he was back out on the field, we were like, oh, I guess they're going to be fine. And then they turn around and lose last week. What's going on with the Jaguars right now beyond the health of Trevor Lawrence?
Well, I mean, did you expect them to go into Cleveland and play on the lake in the weather and with a banged up Trevor Lawrence and win that game?
I don't know.
That's the bigger question. Yeah, I had no. If you had money on it, you certainly wouldn't have thought that. I had no hope that the Jags were going to go in there with that defense that Cleveland has. And what I saw from Joe Flacco against the Rams the week before, guy can still sling it. And that's exactly what he did. The pass defense for the Jags is what is suspect. So the wide receivers for Baltimore, they have to have a day. I mean, they have to have a day. That back end is banged up. You had Campbell and Cisco and Herndon all kind of banged up. And so, you're going to be going after guys, rookies like Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M. Those are the positions you're going to have to attack because Josh Allen and Devin Lloyd, Javon Walker, they're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to make him do things he doesn't want to do, but the back end of this defense has to be special. And if they're not, then Flowers and Odell and that group, they're going to have a day. And that's what's going to be the difference in this football game is how the wide receiver position for Baltimore steps up to the table because, Lawrence and ATN and this offense, though they're going to be without Christian Kirk, they're still going to get they're going to get their yards. They're going to get their points. It depends on what the turnover aspect is. Lawrence threw 3 touchdowns, but he also threw 3 interceptions in that game. So if they don't turn it over, this game could be very, very tight down the stretch on the road. Really important game in terms of, the positioning for Jacksonville because they've come back to the pack in the AFC South. The Colts are right there. The Texans, if, they didn't go up to New York and lay an egg, they were right there. So, I mean, the Jags are still trying to figure out how to win their division where just 2 weeks ago, they were thinking about being the number 1 overall seed.
He is Ryan Leaf. At Ryan D. Leaf on Twitter is how you follow him. And, of course, the game Sunday night on Westwood One. And then, Ryan, what else can we plug for you, man?
I'll be hosting Good Morning Football. I'm filling in for Peter Schrager tomorrow.
Awesome.
Do that weekly now, usually. And then I have my own show with the Fanatics Sportsbook. Fanatics just bought us about 2 months ago. And I got my own show there called The Straight Line with Ryan Leaf. You can catch it every day on YouTube and all along my socials. So we're having a lot of fun. And just had a little baby girl.
Oh, congratulations,
so she
brother.
is keeping us up. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's awesome, dude. Congratulations. That's very, very cool. Happy holidays, Ryan. Really appreciate you taking the time for us. I've always enjoyed our conversations. Always appreciate your candor and your openness, particularly on social media, about topics that are difficult for a lot of people to understand. And I hope you know that.
I appreciate that.
That means a lot, man. Thank you for taking the time for us, and we'll talk again soon, all right?
You bet. We'll talk soon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Ryan Leaf with us here on GCR as he gets ready for Sunday night and Ravens-Jaguars on Westwood One. Stan the Fan Variety Show back this week. Ross, and Luke got together on Monday night. And if you missed it, you can find it at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline. Also always at PressBoxOnline.com/video as well. Stan, Ross, and Luke, usually every Monday, late afternoon, talking baseball with you throughout the course of the off season. When we come back in, we've got a new print issue of Press Box, and I want to show it to you, and we'll talk a little bit about it as it has hit newsstands today. Still to come this hour, Pamela Wood from the Baltimore Banner will try to make more sense of the lease and everything that's going on with the Orioles. So that's all coming up as we continue along here on GCR.
What's up, everyone? It's Tyus Bowser, and I've had so much fun hanging out with Rita and putting up with Glenn the last couple years that I've decided to do it again. Season 3 of the Tyus Bowser Show is happening this year, as we'll be all over town, giving you the chance to get to know me and some of my teammates. As we talk football, life in general, and just say what needs to be said. You can find out more about the show by going to PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. If you don't live in the area, you can watch the shows live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss one, you can listen Friday nights at 105.7 The Fan. So we'll see you all season long for the Tyus Bowser Show, a partnership of PressBox and Great Ace Memorabilia.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, December 19th at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill on Harford Road. It's brought to you by Superbook, AJ Michaels, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GLENClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GLENClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's so much focus on sports betting these days, but I want to talk about an area that nobody wants to gamble on, where you choose to go out and spend your hard-earned dollars to eat. The Costas Inn is no gamble at all. The quality on their menu is outstanding, and the value is off the charts with a great and varied list of specials Monday through Friday. And the staples of the menu, whether it's salads, burgers, fish, they're all fantastic. And I haven't even mentioned the crabs or crab cakes yet. So check out the menu for yourself at CostasInn.com. When choosing a place to dine, never gamble on the food you put in your belly. The Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or call 410-477-1975 for reservations and your steamed crab orders.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? AJ Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Visit Harford County. Gear up for the holidays by supporting local with Small Business Saturday on November 25th. Take in the dazzling sights of the season with a Ladue Christmas at Ladue Topiary Gardens. Enjoy holiday lights, sing along to holiday songs, reserve a carriage ride, and sit on Santa's lap in Bel Air's Winter Wonderland, happening every Saturday from November 25th until December 16th. Nothing sparks that holiday joy quite like a festive parade. Head to visitharford.com and click on Events to see the full list of parades and so much more. In Maryland, you're welcome.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Sure, Glenn may be in his 40s now, but he looks just as good as he ever has, and he's still as sharp as he ever was. And I say both those things without even a shred of irony. Find out for yourself right now by watching the show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or youtube.com/PressBoxOnline.
This is an interesting response from Chris. Chris says, Glenn, the way that you asked the question about Bryce Young versus Tommy DeVito is interesting to me. I don't think either one of them are NFL quarterbacks, but if I had to have one as my quarterback for next year, as a fan, I'd rather it be the guy that's fun. If you had Bryce Young as your quarterback next year, all you'd be measuring is disappointment. The fact that this guy was number 1 overall pick and he's not good enough, and it's a failure for everybody involved in the organization. Tommy DeVito won 1 game on Monday night, and everybody up there is having the time of their lives. He's got a fun personality. You could get through for a year, understand you're not going to be very good, but yet you'll have a good time with it and then get a real quarterback afterwards. Yeah, I mean, if you've completely written both of them off, right, then that's probably a fair way of looking at it. That it's more fun right now to have lower expectations. And I'm trying to think of what the circumstances would be if, in this hypothetical situation that we're presenting for Would You Rather Wednesday. If you were if the New England Patriots took on Bryce Young as their quarterback next year, would you still view him through the prism of being the number 1 overall pick? I can't. I don't know what you would have to trade in order to acquire. That's the difficult part about this sort of silly hypothetical is if
the cost is much different.
Like if he was just cast off by the Panthers, like if the Panthers just got rid of him, which would be insane, and you could sign him for next to nothing, then it's probably not the same burden that you feel as a fan watching him play next year. But if this hypothetical scenario is you're a fan of the Panthers, and the Panthers didn't just spend the number 1 overall pick on the guy, but now don't have what would be the number 1 pick this year because of the guy, there's no way you're having fun. It is, like, it's hell. Your skin crawls thinking about it as a fan. And I do think that perspective is relevant in the conversation, right? Whereas, who the hell cares if Tommy DeVito loses? He's Tommy DeVito. His family's giving out chicken cutlets in the parking lot before the game. But if you gave up this year, you would have the number 1 pick you would be preparing to select Caleb Williams. But you gave that up to get Bryce Young. It would be almost impossible. Like, I think that's a really interesting perspective to have in this conversation about this hypothetical.
The hypothetical is, or he's looking at it like you're gonna suck. So it's like, how do you want to enjoy sucking, or
like, can you find any fun in sucking versus? I can't even imagine what it must feel like to be a Panthers fan right now. It is something even a step beyond hell, because it's a hell you don't think you can escape. Now, in fairness,
I mean, think about
we thought the Broncos were in hell a year ago and couldn't escape it, right? Like, this is football and things can change. You're harder pressed to find who's the guy that looked this bad in recent years. Come up with someone that looked awful. I mean, just looked completely lost, that was able to get it back together. Not Sam Darnold. I mean, who is the guy that just looked
and was able to come back
incompetent and was able to then figure it out in the next couple of years?
I mean, Baker really didn't do anything. He wasn't
Baker actually looked better then than he looked in most of the rest of his career, and he hasn't really ever gotten it back. He's just kind of been what he's been allowed to keep playing despite the fact that he's not really good enough. It ain't Mitchell Trubisky.
Flacco?
Not at all. What are you talking about?
He's back.
No, but he didn't start his career looking incompetent.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, I see.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about, like, maybe, the couple of seasons before.
No, I'm saying who's the guy whose career began that was a highly regarded quarterback that, they just looked awful. I mean, atrocious. But, change the coach, change the whatever, and somebody else figured it out with that player in the couple of years afterwards. Who's the example of that in the modern NFL?
Yeah, I mean, not Tua. Like, Tua still looked like he still had.
Yeah, Tua never looked incompetent.
Right.
They had a moment where they felt like they wanted to do better than Tua, but Tua never looked like this. Like, he wasn't this bad. If you want to say that's the closest argument you can come up with, just because the team was ready to move on from Tua, and yet, they got him some receive, like that. I could listen to that, but it wasn't this.
Yeah.
He was better than this. I can't. The guys
there might not be one. Is that?
I'm struggling to think of who it is. I'm struggling to think of the guy that would fit the bill of looked awful, just needed a different coach, and they were able to fix it. I genuinely don't know who would, Sam Darnold isn't that guy. Maybe Zach Wilson could still prove to be that guy after he had a good start this week. Maybe, but I don't think anybody believes it. Like, more often than not recently, like, what we saw of you kind of determined what you were. And maybe that's unfair. You say maybe, once upon a time you would give quarterbacks a longer rope because the contracts demanded it. But right now it's either you're the guy or you're not the guy. And I don't know how you would have a whole lot of faith that Bryce Young is still going to prove to be the guy. It's yuck. Also an interesting answer from Doc on Twitter, who said they have to face Kansas City because in the cinematic, path, getting to the Super Bowl has to involve beating the Kansas City Chiefs. I disagree. I do. They've won a game.
That makes sense.
If they had never beaten the Chiefs, I might feel something about that. I mean that. Like, it would feel lesser if they had never beaten the Chiefs. They beat the Chiefs a couple years ago. Like, they proved they were capable of beating. There's nothing. There is no 0-8 hanging over them that we would still have to deal with next year and talking about the Ravens. Yeah, they won the Super Bowl, but none of that. Like, they've proven that they're capable of beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the Lamar Jackson era.
What would be the ultimate path? Be Buffalo and Kansas City?
Probably.
Yeah.
Although if you get the bye, I don't think it can't be Buffalo. Oh, I guess could they still get the 5?
They could still. they could still win the division if they. If the
I didn't
Dolphins
even think about that. If the Dolphins really
I guess
fall apart,
anyone could win their division right now still. But
yeah, but in a reasonable world, could they be the 4 or the 5? I don't know if they can. I don't know that there's a reasonable world where the Bills could be the 4 or the 5. So I don't know that it could be Buffalo and Kansas City. I guess if you're doing the cinematic thing now, it would really be could Cleveland be the 5?
Cleveland, yes, they are currently the 5.
So there's your cinematic. Your cinematic is Cleveland and Kansas City, right? In some order. The cinematic is either Kansas City in the first round and Cleveland in the championship game, or Cleveland in the first round.
Maybe the Colts. That'll be
the Justice for 2006.
10 weeks ago.
The problem with that being they've beaten the Colts in the playoffs since then, right? So I think that's gone.
And also, this isn't like a good Colts team.
It's not, right? Like it's you're not getting past Peyton Manning. You know what I mean? Like you're not. They beat Andrew Luck in the playoffs in 2012. So I don't think that there's anything there still. I think the cinematic path is Flacco and the Chiefs. I guess it would still be the Steelers and the Chiefs. Especially if somehow that game at the end of the season doesn't matter and you lose it, and the thing that's hanging over you is that yes, you made the playoffs, but you kind of got swept by the Steelers.
Right.
There'd be something cinematic about Lamar's that. By the way, if you want one that is still a 0 that's hanging over, Lamar still never played well in a win over the Steelers in his life. If you want a thing that continues to linger, in Lamar's life, he's never played well in a win over the Steelers. The win that he got was a brutal performance in Pittsburgh. And then he just largely hasn't played against the Steelers. He's played well this year. He played really well this year. But they didn't win. He's never played well in a win over the Steelers. So particularly if that Week 18 game doesn't matter and they don't get the opportunity to do that, then you can make an argument that would be the cinematic path, is that it would involve Lamar playing well and the Ravens beating the Steelers. But I don't think there's any chance of that being. The Steelers could they still be the 5 somehow?
They are currently the 6. Yeah, they could. They could still win the division.
Everything is. It is really bad after. All the quarterbacks are hurt. Everything stinks after.
Right now, the Bills, based on whatever the tiebreakers are right now, I guess conference record, the Bills are in 11th place in the AFC right now.
What a world.
They're behind the Bengals. They're behind the Texans. Behind the Broncos. Behind the Colts. Steelers, they have the tiebreaker over everyone somehow as the 7-6 team, so they are the 6th seed if playoffs ended today or started today.
That's so stupid. I'm in this weird place where
they have
as a viewer, I want the playoff games to be better, right? So I want Josh Allen in the playoffs. I want better teams in the playoffs. I want teams with quarterbacks in the playoffs. But then there's the part of me that's like, but wouldn't I rather the Ravens get to face a bunch of backup quarterbacks? Wouldn't I rather that be the case? Don't I want the Steelers to stay in the playoffs because I'm not afraid of Kenny Pickett? Like, isn't that what I want? It's very weird. Don't I want the Colts to stay in the playoffs because I'm good with playing against Gardner Minshew? It's a weird year, dude. Weird year. Today is the day. Starting today, the new print issue of Press Box is available. We told you about it last week, and now it is. It's not going to be everywhere today. There will still be places that won't be receiving it until tomorrow. But starting today, and then fully everywhere tomorrow, you will be able to get this print issue of Press Box, which is our annual best of issue. And Stan and I talked about it on the show last Friday. Tough decisions this year about where we were going with Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year and what we wanted the cover of this year's Best of issue to look like. And we ultimately decided to go with the image of the entire team celebrating because, and I wrote about it, get to the end of the issue. There's Glenn Clark's column there, the final page of this print issue of Press Box. The Rick Riley, although I hope I don't sell my soul the way that Rick Riley has from time to time. The Rick Riley of the issue. My column is about why, because I was asked, hey, what's your opinion? What do you think? We could either just go with an image of Brandon Hyde because he's our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, or we could go with the image of the team. To me, our selection of Brandon Hyde as Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year is a reflection of the team. It's a reflection of the culture and the fun that we had with the Orioles this year. And we could talk about, we're going to do a quick press conference, right? I want you to ask me reasonable, relevant questions about who we chose, who we didn't choose, and why, all right? So, yes, you with the pink shirt.
It's Salmon. How come Gunnar didn't win?
Thank you.
Was he considered?
Thank you. It's a great question. You're an idiot. Yes, I think they're going to be one of the questions that'll come up the most, right? Why wouldn't you just give it to Gunnar? And that was absolutely something that we thought about. I will tell you straight up, we considered the possibility of Gunnar Henderson being. We also considered splitting it between, like having it be Brandon Hyde and Gunnar Henderson, right? Like these major awards, we can't pretend like major awards are ones that are just won all the time by Baltimore sports figures. So with Gunnar being Rookie of the Year and Brandon Hyde being Manager of the Year, one of the things that we thought about was just let's make it the two of them to reflect the fact that they were both major award winners this year. But we kept coming back to the story of the team. For as good as Gunnar Henderson was, and he was great, right? Even he had a stretch of this season where he wasn't productive. I mean, at the beginning of the year, Gunnar Henderson was awful. Like, awful. No, I'm not trying to pretend like it changed the story. Clearly, we all think that Gunnar Henderson is a superstar. The story kept coming back to the team. It kept coming back to me. It wasn't the story of any one player. Last year, we chose Adley Rutschman. Why? Because the story of last year was the moment Adley Rutschman showed up,
team started
winning came with it, right? It was an obvious story. The story was easy. Adley Rutschman gets here, carrying winning on his back. I didn't think the story of the 2023 Orioles was Gunnar Henderson. I think he was the best player on the 2023 Orioles, but partly, I think he was the best player by default, right? If Felix Bautista had stayed healthy for another month of the season, I think Felix Bautista would have been team MVP. I think if Cedric Mullins had stayed healthy for the entirety of the year, there's a possibility that Cedric Mullins would have been team MVP. He just never looked right again after he got – but like when he got hurt the first time, Cedric Mullins was the team MVP. So I never felt like the story of the 2023 Orioles was Gunnar Henderson. I thought he was their best player, but I never felt like he was the story of the season. To me, the story was the team. Follow up with this question. Say, then why didn't you just make everybody on the team?
So how come everybody on the team wasn't?
I don't like that. It was hotly contested. That was an opinion within the I really didn't like that. Like, that bothers me. Sports Illustrated's done that 2 times.
They made it a team.
They made it, I want to say, the Women's World Cup champion team one year, and I think they made it just the Warriors one year, which I actually thought was extraordinarily stupid. I don't like it because it comes off as a cop-out to me. It comes off like we couldn't come up with an answer, so we just made it everybody.
99.
The women now. The
2018, the Warriors. Yeah, when they.
It was a 99 Women's World Cup team.
Yeah, maybe. Let me see.
Was that the year? Well, maybe I've just done my math wrong. Maybe. Oh yeah, that makes sense. That was the year that was the year the Brandy Chastain team that.
Yeah.
That put. That one I actually understand a little bit more.
Rapinoe was the sole person of the year in 2019.
Right, but in 99 team, them winning the World Cup kind of put women's soccer on the map. Like, that was a transcendent moment. So I have that one I'm a little bit more okay with than when the Warriors one was like, as we're not even going to bother trying as possible. Like, that. You might as well have made Deion Sanders your sports person of the year.
Wait, they did.
I just don't like it personally. That's the only thing that I really was opposed to. Now, again, I'm only one person, and so ultimately if everybody else on the board had decided, on the editorial board had decided that's what we were doing, then that's what we were going to do, because I can't. But I will be honest with you, and I will tell you that when we had those meetings, I was vehemently opposed.
Was there any consideration for Mike Elias?
Absolutely. In fact, I would tell you that one person on the board was either Mike Elias or Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde, like the leadership. I push back on that as well, and it's I love Mike Elias, but in comparing him to Brandon Hyde, I never thought that Brandon Hyde dropped the ball this year. I think Mike Elias dropped the ball on the Jack Flaherty trade. I can't escape that. That within the season, the Jack Flaherty trade was again, we've used the term unmitigated a couple times. It was an unmitigated failure. And so I don't think he lived up to I think he was great, but if the standard was, Brandon Hyde, I think he fell a little bit short of that because the trade he made it didn't work, period. When they needed to bolster the team to try to make a playoff push, they failed to do so.
You think would he have had a better case had they just made no trade?
Maybe, like that's the sad part about, like, maybe. And that's the thing too. And even when we had the meeting, I said, look, in the moment, I was glad he did it. But we have to judge it now and say your job as a general manager is to make the move that gets you over the top. And he didn't. He didn't do that. So he made a move and it didn't work. So I have to consider that in the way that we compare these two. So yeah, Mike Elias was definitely in the conversation, and I would say only one member of our board was really pushing for Mike Elias. That's the Flaherty trade to me, and it wasn't just to me. Others on our board that decide. I don't want to speak for anybody else. I don't want to say how they
should we call them?
Yeah, we could get everybody on the phone right now. Others on our board just were in agreement with me and said that's the difference. The difference specifically is the trade, and why that didn't pan out that way.
Was there any consideration outside of the Orioles?
Thank you. I'm so glad. That's what I wanted the next question to be. Thank you, Griffin. Yes, there was. At one point, we decided that, I'll peel the curtain back. The last 2 years, we have left options. We have not decided on the cover until very late because we wanted as much of the season to play out as we possibly could for the Ravens before we made a final decision. And one of the things we decided was, if Lamar Jackson was playing at an MVP, like a true MVP level by, Thanksgiving, it was obvious that he was the singular MVP front runner, we were going to have to talk about then, is it, how do we handle the cover then?
Right.
Is it
had they been on a 14-2 level?
Are the Orioles the team of the year and Lamar's the Mogaba sports person of the year? And do we have a cover that reflects both of those things? Do we just commit to one or the other? Something along those lines.
Did Lamar win?
In fairness, that was the year we had decided Mogaba was going to be sports person of the year, and then all of a sudden Lamar Jackson has this ungodly year. We We had committed to Mo Gaba being Sports Person of the Year that year. So we decided the way to handle that was to do the cover with Mo and Lamar, that iconic picture of the two of them together. And we said that Lamar was the athlete of the year and Mo Gaba was our sports person of the year. But it's something we thought about a lot since then, is that technically Lamar's never been our Mo Gaba sports person of the year, which seems kind of unfathomable. But in the years since, he's gotten hurt, right? And so there just hasn't been an obvious year since then for him to be the guy. And we're not going to apologize for the fact that Mo Gaba was our sports person of the year, because we're not going to apologize for that. They win the Super Bowl? You could probably go ahead and start making your plans for who is going to be Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year next year. Like, I think you can kind of assume who that's going to be. It's one of the goofy things about the way. Yeah. Just the nature of the. It's funny because we used to do something at the old radio station. We didn't do it. It wasn't this big, but we would have like a silly, let's name a person of the year. And the year 2013, it was Drew was furious that the rest of us decided that it was Joe Flacco. Drew was like, he hasn't played all that well this year. I'm like, Drew, in calendar 2013, he won a Super Bowl. Who cares about anything from that? He didn't have to play another snap.
What was his pick? Chris Davis for hitting 50 homers?
I don't remember. Maybe. Who knows what it was. I mean, like, it was.
Which would have been a good case.
But
that a Super Bowl?
Some of the other things that we talk. Look, inside the issue, as I know we got to chat with, we got to call Pamela Wood here. Inside the issue, we honor some of the top people, places, performances, moments of the year throughout the local sports scene. And I would tell you that, like, Angel Reese's name came up in our conversations as someone that would be deserving, as a Baltimore native who took the sports world by storm and won a national championship. That came up in conversations. There weren't a lot of other, major stories this year. There were a lot of other fun stories. There was nothing else that really rose to the level of conversation about Sports Person of the Year. It really did kind of come down to the Orioles, if Lamar, had gotten to a certain point, or, the only other one that even came up in conversation was Angel Reese. And even that, it was a tough one because she's not local now. Nobody here really cares about LSU specifically. It was a tough sell, and it would have had to have required there being no other candidates really for that to be the case. But we're very proud. We're very proud of the cover. We're very proud of our selection of Brandon Hyde as Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year, of recognizing the Orioles as the team of the year. And this is always a very intensive issue for us. There is a lot of work that goes into our best of issue every year, and we are very proud of it. Roquan Smith. I will tell you that Roquan Smith's name did come up as well, just because of, how different they've been since his arrival. Obviously, his arrival didn't happen this year, but he did sign the contract this year.
Awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time.
So Roquan Smith also did come up in conversation about Mo Gaba Sports Person of the Year. That's all in the best of print issue of Press Box, which is available starting today at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find the Press Box, and you can read it all at pressboxonline.com/bestof. All right, very good. Now, our next guest is not a sports reporter, because these two things have come to a head given the almost bizarre nature of the situation with the Orioles and their lease. Joining us from the Baltimore Banner, she is Pamela Wood, and she is with us here on GCR. Pamela, it's Glenn. It's great to chat with you. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Glenn.
So I want to go to where do we go next, but I guess in order to get there, we got to start by looking backwards, right? And like the big picture question is, how did we get here? And I know that, like, you would say, hey, how long do you have? And then we could really get to that point. But more uniquely, from where we were in October, or it's late September, when there was a memorandum of understanding, to where we are today, how did we get here?
Yeah, well, you actually, hate to do this, have to go back a little further. We got this December 31st deadline back in February. In February, under the current lease, the Orioles could have done another extension. They said, nope, no thanks. We want to negotiate a whole new deal. So that set the clock for December 31st. So they were talking, the Orioles and the state, late September. Everybody remembers that scoreboard announcement that took us all by surprise. Said we had a deal. Wasn't quite a deal. It was a memorandum of understanding. It outlined, some significant progress towards the deal. They worked on the details. They came together, I understand, late Thursday night with both a lease and a redevelopment plan package. They started to move it forward on Friday, and bam, it hit a roadblock, and they had to start negotiating again. So that's the quick version.
So one of the things that I feel like I've been following your reporting basically every day, Pamela. One of the things I think we're struggling with is everybody in this town is inclined to have distrust towards the Angelos family. It's just the way that it goes. It is baked in over decades. But from where the agreement was in September, it sounded like your guys' reporting was suggesting that their side didn't change anything. It was the other side that changed the way that they looked at it. And for as much as maybe the argument is because they agreed to a bad deal, that still comes off like it's kind of bad faith negotiating, no?
Well, I'm not really in a position to, comment on anybody's motivations or what they're thinking.
That's
but
fair.
there were significant changes from September to Friday, but both sides did agree to it. It's kind of up to opinion who's getting a better deal here or not. But both sides did agree to what they had on Friday.
I don't know what to make of that, Pamela. We'll get back to that in a second. I don't know what to make of it. Pamela Wood with us from the Baltimore Banner. So, the word Bill Ferguson steps in. He's got issues, so everything comes off the table. Part of the reasoning that was given was because of this report last week from Bloomberg that perhaps the Orioles are up for sale, which they pushed back on. I understand why there would be concern about that, but even that report didn't suggest that a sale was imminent. I would think that, the need for a lease would still have to win out, right? I guess the question is, why would it matter to the state if the Orioles might be up for sale?
Yeah, I think the concern here, Bill Ferguson had two concerns. One is about the ground lease that would allow for redevelopment at the warehouse, the Camden station, the parking right there, and the elements of that. The other one, it sort of clouded things. This Bloomberg report, is a team for sale? Is it not? Is it going to get sold to David Rubenstein, or is it not? And I think there's a concern of who are we really dealing with here?
Right.
Now, of what they negotiated, it would apply to any successive owner if the team were to be sold. But I think it sort of at the last second there, as they were nailing things down, it raised some questions.
And I can understand that.
And just some uncertainty.
Yeah, I can understand hey, we'd like to get these questions answered. I just don't know how it would be. The team's going to be here one way or the other and would need a lease to play the games at the stadium no matter who's owning the team. So I would think that even if they ultimately get sold, you would still need the lease. Now, is the question –
correct.
I think on the other side, the question would be, if you're selling the team, should you be the one that's negotiating the lease, or wouldn't the new owner want to have a say in that? But I would think that would be more on their side than it is on the state's side. But Pamela, I'm a dumb guy, so maybe I'm the wrong guy to put that out there.
Well, I think that's a fair question. And they were working towards a deadline on Friday because it's December 31st for the lease, but there are multiple layers of approval. The Stadium Authorities Board and the State Board of Public Works, which is the governor, the comptroller, the treasurer, they met today. If they wanted to get it on today's agenda, they would have had to do so on Friday. And so they were kind of barreling towards that. And then suddenly this report revived these, rumors that, maybe David Rubenstein wanted to buy the team. And that, kind of caused a wrinkle.
So
now since they pulled it back, there's more time to talk about that.
And I saw your report today that, Governor Moore is still confident that a deal is going to get done. I feel like part of this issue perhaps, and I've brought this up a couple of times with people, and I have not done nearly the reporting that you have on this, right? But, I've talked to people that are involved in these conversations, and one of the things that I've gotten back is part of what has made this difficult is when we use the term deadline, everybody kind of knows that it's not and it's even been admitted to, right? Hey, we're not kicking them out on December 31st. if we get to that point and there's no deal, we'll just have to figure out what it looks like moving forward. It seems like there's no actual threat of the Orioles moving. There's no threat of the state taking the deal off the table for the $600 million to begin with. So without that, has it been difficult to negotiate because it's been difficult for either side to have like true leverage in any of this?
Well, I mean, legally speaking, the current lease says the Orioles do have to be out after December 31st if there's no further extension or new lease. I mean, there are provisions written in there about turning over the keys and the combination locks and removing their property. Now, would that be enforced? Hard to say. I don't think anybody wants that to happen. But they really want to be legally compliant and get something done by December 31st so that there is no legal question about the status of the team at the ballpark. But you're right. Nobody wants them to leave.
And I understand that it's like it felt for a while like these are parties that were working together, and I think that's maybe the political side of it is that it felt like John Angelos, and I think everybody knows the Angelos family's politics, wanted to work with Westmore, wanted to work with a Democratic governor, and it seemed like they were getting along, and I guess maybe is that I think that's made it surprising that it's dragged on for so long, and that these two people that seem to be agreeable have not been able to find common ground to make this work. Is that been surprising to the parties involved?
I think what we're talking about here is a really complex negotiation. Perhaps if this was just a straight, continued lease of the ballpark itself, like what the Ravens have, probably easier to accommodate. I mean, the Ravens lease sailed through. Not much controversy. And they didn't change a lot of things from what they already had. They just moved it forward. They could access their portion of the state money for improvements. The Orioles, it's much more complex because the Orioles and, Chairman John Angelos are seeking this redevelopment part, which just adds, even a straight lease is, 200 pages of legal details.
Yeah.
Then you add this on top of it. It's so complicated. So even if everybody's agreeable, nailing down those details, making sure all the different concerns are addressed. The governor talks about keeping the Orioles long-term, creating winners off the field with this development and stewarding the taxpayer dollars. The Orioles and Angelos side, they want to make sure they get the development rights and the lease. And even if everybody's, intention is to be on the same page, there's just so many details, so many legal nuances to carry through here.
I feel is part of the burden that we don't really know exactly what the public wants from this, just because baseball fans want them to sign a lease, right? That's what we know. Baseball fans,
Absolutely.
It's the easiest thing in the world. Sign the lease. But the other elements of it are so nuanced, right? Like the debate about how much should a municipality give to a private sports owner versus, hey, but might it not be a good thing for downtown to have a little bit more build? Would it not be better for all of the businesses around, for there be more reasons for people to come to the stadium area, even on days where there aren't games being played? These are all really relevant questions that I don't think have easy yeses or nos, and I don't know that beyond just the sign the lease part of it, there is a strong feeling from the general public about what this should look like.
Right. I think that's fair. And, talking to, my friends and fans and seeing chatter on social media and on radio, I think there are different opinions. Yeah, everybody wants keep the Orioles playing long term.
Right.
But especially the development part, are you giving away the farm of a valuable state asset for a very low cost for Angelos to profit? Is his vision going to be aligned with what the people want? And people want to maybe see different things. Do you want to see restaurants, the concert venue?
Right.
Should there be residential or not? And there's been nothing to see to judge. If you look down the street at Harbor Place, well, there's a plan out there that people can decide whether they like it or not. We haven't seen a plan, just a vague idea. So I do think in the public there are varying opinions about whether the development part is a good deal, the right parameters, and different opinions about what would be the right thing to do there.
Now, I always come back to when somebody asks me about it, Pam, I'm like, I think it's a good thing for there to be a ballpark village. I think that would be beneficial, but that's a very narrow-minded thought process of I think that we would want that. I also don't know that What you said about the value of the land and just giving it to a private ownership, I don't know that we want that for anybody. I don't think that makes sense for the value of my tax dollars. It's a very complicated thing. But
it is, and we're seeing these kinds of questions as well in terms of, state subsidies, which is your money and my money going into it.
Yep.
Down in Alexandria now with Governor
the
Youngkin.
Arena,
proposing a new arena for the Wizards and the Capitals. There's talk about the Commanders. Should the Commanders stay in Prince George's? Should they go to D.C.? Is the state of Maryland or D.C.? What subsidies do they want to put up? How are they going to try and keep them? It's happening in city after city, these difficult questions.
But they're still projecting confidence. Like, they're still projecting that there's no real big deal here. It's all going to get solved. We're not going to have a constitutional crisis on our hands come January 1st.
That is what we heard this morning. I mean, I stood right in front of the governor and we asked him, and the state treasurer as well. There are no more Maryland Stadium Authority Board meetings. There are no Board of Public Works meetings on the calendar right now, but they projected confidence that they're going to get it done, call the special meetings before the end of the year, potentially, before the Christmas holiday.
Well, that would be ideal, I'm sure, for you. I'm sure you're rooting for that to be the case.
Like a reporter in politics, we're working all the time, no
That's
matter
true.
what.
That's a good point. There is always something going on. It's at P. Wood Reporter, of course, on Twitter. And as always, the Baltimore Banner, thebaltimorebanner.com. Pamela, is there anything else that we can plug for you?
Yeah, please just, follow our work. And if you want to subscribe, we have a great deal, $1 for 6 months. Hope people find value in it. We're chasing this story and lots of other stories hard, so I appreciate it.
Really appreciate you taking the time for us. Unfortunately, I have a bad feeling that we might have to reach out to you again before this is all said and done, because it feels like there have been that many twists and turns in this process. But really appreciate you spending a couple of minutes with us. Happy holidays to you. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Pamela Wood with us here on GCR. Appreciate her taking the time for us. And they keep, and again, it's part of I understand what Pamela's saying, and I ended up in this back and forth with people last week. When I say there's no deadline, I know what she's saying. Well, legally there is a deadline, but the stadium authorities already come out and said we're not kicking them out. If we get to that point, we'll just have to figure out what it looks like. Westmore, nobody wants to get to that point because it just creates further uncertainty, right? Like, nobody wants to have the fan base go into the year still feeling like, what's going on here? The longer it drags out, the more it allows for salacious rumors to play out, for, traipsing into pure fantasy to occur. So everybody wants to get it done. But who's bending to get it done? Is it as simplistic as everybody agreed to the deal? Bill Ferguson put up. Do you remember when Brett Kavanaugh was nominated for the Supreme Court?
Yes.
They were just going to go right ahead. They weren't going to have any, they weren't going to invite the alleged, the woman that made. They weren't going to invite her in to talk. They just decided, we've got the majority. We're going to prove him. Deal with it. And one senator, and I can't remember. I think it might have been Jeff Flake. There was one senator who kind of spoke up and said, one Republican senator, who said, guys, I would really like it if we didn't do that. If we at least played this thing out a little bit more. Allowed this alleged victim to come speak, and for us to at least, and maybe it was nothing more than theater, right? Like, maybe it was nothing more than, let's pretend like we're listening, let's pretend like we're trying, let's pretend like we care. But one senator spoke up and said that, and then, other leadership was like, all right, fine, we'll do that. But it was never going to change the outcome. They had the majority. This was the guy their president chose. He was going to become a Supreme Court justice. So maybe this is still fait accompli. There's a deal. It's been agreed to. Westmore wants to work. The guy's the president of the Senate, Bill Ferguson, right? Like, he's powerful person in the state. He's got and represents this district. He's got an issue. Westmore says, all right, let's pump the brakes. We'll deal with it. But we all know what the outcome's going to be. We're still going to go back to the same deal. We're just doing this to try to appease you in the process. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe it's nothing more than that. But every day that goes by allows for more and more what's going on. And that's the frustrating part. All right, today's show also brought to you by, this one's brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. Griffin, you want to tell everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel?
Of course. Over at Live Casino and Hotel, maybe if luck wasn't on your side in a recent bet at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, maybe, Connor McDavid had 2 assists, but he did not score a freaking goal last night.
How did Connor Bedard do? I know it was the big
Connor
v. Connor
Yeah,
showdown.
it was a big show. He scored the opening. I got a good tidbit on him in a couple minutes here. But he scored a goal.
Okay.
McDavid only had 2 assists though. No actual goals. But if you had him to score a goal, and then last night, good news: FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino Hotel Maryland. They can turn your losses into winning opportunities with the second chance to win promotion. Between now and January 4th, 2024, all Live Casino and Hotel Maryland Rewards members will be able to enter their losing bet slips into the second chance to win drum, and then 2 nights a week, 20 different winners will be chosen with prizes ranging from Live Casino and Hotel Maryland apparel, sports and social ultimate happy hour, plus cash and free play worth up to $500. Drawings will be held every Thursday and Monday over at the Live Casino and Hotel Maryland FanDuel Sportsbook. Adirondack Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Tidbit, Tubular, and Tyus Bowser, the 3 Ts, next on GCR. Hey Ravens fans, looking for the perfect new game day brew? Get a Guilford, Baltimore's finest craft beer during the next home game at the bank. That's not all. Gather your flock next home game and check out Guilford Hall Brewery's brand new bar, the Gilly Nest, located near Section 505. No tickets? No problem. Enjoy all Ravens games all season long at our restaurant and brewery in Station North. Guilford Hall Brewery, European tradition, Baltimore charm.
Come for a game, stay for everything else. Book an unforgettable fall getaway in Charm City. Enjoy only in Baltimore festivals, mouthwatering eats, and endless entertainment. Treat yourself to a staycation in the heart of downtown, or try one of the city's many charming neighborhood hotels. And don't miss out on packages for free parking, breakfast, and more. Plan your stay at baltimore.org/hotels.
Why bet with the big boys this football season? Instead, try your hand with the local book, Superbook Sports, this fall. Superbook Sports is the book next door. Just a dedicated team of the best odds makers in Las Vegas, making sure you get the best prices and parlays anywhere. And now, Superbook will give you a bonus of up to $250 when you sign up and wager on the same day and use the promo code GlennClark23, GLENNCLARK23. So bet with the best and use the promo code GlennClark23 this football season with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
6 chicken tenders made from fresh, never frozen Royal Farms world-famous chicken, a family-sized order of Western fries, honey mustard dipping sauce, and a 2-liter bottle of Dr. Pepper. It's Royal Farms' new Tucker's Tenders Meal. It's Justin Tucker's favorite, and at only $19.99, it'll be your favorite meal, too. The new Tucker's Tenders Meal, available only at Royal Farms. Now you can kick back, relax, and eat like a champion. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Brace yourselves for an unparalleled game day experience at the new Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live in-person betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between a person-to-person experience with their on-site tellers or the convenience of their self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, the ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. ajmichaels.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Make sure you're tuned in every Tuesday for PressBox Fantasy Football Analyst Joe Serpico to get you ready for your Waiver Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. And if you have other fantasies you want fulfilled, subscribe to Glenn and Jeremy Kahn's OnlyFans page at... Wait, are people supposed to know about that?
All right, back in here on GCR as we are winding down for a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Continue to get me your responses throughout the course of the day for our Would You Rather Wednesday setups. Tidbit is brought to you by the Tyus Bowser Show. You're going to hear segment number 1 from last night coming up in a minute. And quick turnaround, we're going to be back in action next Tuesday night. We will be at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill on Harford Road, Tuesday, December 19th. Come join us for the next Tyus Bowser Show. Partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's Memorabilia. It's brought to you by A.J. Michaels, Superbook Sports, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
All right, so last night, Nikola Jokic was ejected. Or no, that was that last night, or was it 2 nights? Whatever. Jokic got ejected. Yeah, it was last night? Okay. I was thinking of Trae Young.
The Draymond thing. God.
Do we have to? Yeah,
Jesus. I got nothing else.
I was getting confused because Trae Young also is on my fantasy team, and he got ejected Monday night, so that was annoying. But Jokic was ejected in the first half of the game last night, and he became the first player in at least the last 30 years to still lead all starters on his team in rebounds and assists for the game, despite being thrown out there in the first half with 9 rebounds and 6 assists for Jokic.
How about that?
So do you want to know how bad the Chicago Blackhawks are?
I guess.
Last night marked the 4th time in only his 28 career games that Connor Bedard opened the scoring. He scored the opening goal in the first 6 minutes against the Oilers last night and against Connor McDavid, but had his team get shut out the rest of the way and lose by multiple goals. No one has done that more than 4 times over their entire NHL career. There are 2 other players that have also done it 4 times or have had that happen 4 times, scoring the opening goal, getting shut out and losing by multiple goals the rest of the way. Has happened 4 times this season for Bedard. I mean, they're notable guys, the other 2.
All this season?
No. This happened over their entire career. There are only 2 guys that have ever had this happen 4 times over their entire career. Bedard has had it happen 4 times this season.
And give me the numbers one more time.
It is score the opening goal,
right,
and then get shut out the rest of the way and lose by multiple goals. Bedard has done that 4 times.
It's such a weird anomaly that there's no Sidney Crosby.
Sidney Crosby, yes.
Sure. Alex Ovechkin.
Not Alex Ovechkin.
Wayne Gretzky.
Not Wayne
Mark
Gretzky.
Messier.
Not Mark Messier. He was on the list that we had.
Mario Lemieux.
Not Lemieux.
Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe, Sidney Crosby, and now Connor Bedard. Bedard
that?
has only played less than 30 games. After Sunday, Puka Nacua, he now totals 1,113 receiving yards in his career, and he is only the 4th player in NFL history to reach the 1,100-yard receiving number in his first 13 career games.
Okay.
Any guess at the other 3 that reached 1,100 receiving yards in their first 13 career games? Yeah, the first 13 career games.
Julio?
Not Julio.
Randy Moss?
Yes, Randy Moss. Chronologically, he would be the first ever to do this. Reach 1,100 in his first 13 games.
Larry Fitzgerald?
Not Larry Fitz. You're in the right right
Anquan
city.
Bolden?
Yeah, Anquan Bolden.
Justin Jefferson?
Not Justin Jefferson. Surprisingly.
Jamar Chase?
Not Jamar Chase.
How How about Mike Evans?
Not Mike Evans.
Marcus Colston.
Not Marcus Colston.
Torrey Holt.
Not
Reggie
Torrey Holt.
Wayne.
Not Reggie Wayne. He is still in the league.
Michael Thomas.
Not Michael Thomas. Can't really give you many hints without giving it away.
Odell Beckham.
Odell Beckham Jr., yes. Odell Beckham Jr., Anquan Bolden, Randy Moss, and Puka Nacua.
Not bad company.
No, not bad at all.
Not bad company. All right, do me a favor. I want you to tell everybody about what's going on. First of all, I want you to turn my mic off when I tell you to. I'm going to give you a
scream
cue.
real quick, yeah.
Well, we might be able to. I'll explain it in a second.
I see.
Turn my mic off and tell everybody about the Green Turtle as we get ready for Totally Tubular. And if I still need you to, go ahead and do the non-sports of part of Tubular, right?
Okay.
This is very professional.
I
what
understand.
We're about to do right now.
Makes
You
sense.
know, but not everybody else does.
Over at the Green Turtle, where you're going to be betting those primetime unders, especially tomorrow night between the Raiders and the Chargers, you get a $10 free bet every Thursday at the new Green Turtle Sportsbooks in Towson or Canton. So stop by, get your free $10 bet. You can watch the game, enjoy some great food, some great Green Turtle food, root for the under. And so make sure you check out those Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, or both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You get a $10 free bet every Thursday. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Again, a $10 free bet each and every Thursday over at the Green Turtle Sportsbooks in Towson and or Canton. Let's get started with the non-sports highlights here on Wednesday night, Totally Tubular-wise. Of course, a new episode of Survivor. I believe it's the penultimate episode of Survivor. The finale will be next week. It is the finale right after Survivor tonight of season 35 of The Amazing Race. That's all on CBS, and then Jason Momoa will be on Colbert for late night, I guess, because Aquaman will be. Is that next week? Yeah, I guess it's already
next week. Wow.
Yeah, Aquaman. Because Christmas is next week, basically.
Jesus, that's true. Oh
Yeah.
man, I am. I'm not ready for that.
Timothy Chalamet and David Blaine on Fallon, because Wonka also comes out next week. And it is sadly the season 1 finale of Snake Oil as well on Fox. But Adam Devine.
Sure.
Adam Devine.
Do your thing. Do your. I hate
Snake bit.
All right, I just forwarded you an email.
Okay.
All right. Try to see if you can open on this computer, because if you can, then you're going to start the video that opens at the 137 mark, and we're going to be good to play the show that way. All right. Okay. If you can't, we'll deal with that when we need to. But if you can, that would be a great solution. Sports tonight, not much. That's the reality. You didn't mention the 30 for 30, did you?
No.
No, then I can talk about that. That's about it. That's where we are. 30 for 30 tonight. I'm very excited about this one because I was obsessed with Reggie White growing up. Reggie White is the featured, this is about him. It's called The Minister of Defense, 9 o'clock on ESPN tonight for the next 30 for 30, all about Reggie White. Hoops, it's rough tonight. Only Big Ten team in action or on TV is Northwestern. They play Chicago State at 8 on Big Ten Network. Creighton, UNLV, that's pretty good, actually, at 9 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Yeah, it's dicey. Pelicans, Wizards, 7 o'clock on Monumental. NBA TV for Lakers, Spurs at 8 o'clock. TNT for Bruins, Devils at 7:30. And Sabres, Avalanche at 10. TBS for AEW Dynamite tonight at 8. That's it. That's what it is. All right. Thanks today to Drew Forrester, I guess. Thanks also to Ryan Leaf, as well as to Pamela Wood. We're going to get all that. And eventually the Tyus Bowser Show, I promise, up in the greatest hits section of the...
Oh, my God, it's so good.
...tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. That was yikes. It's like burping as I said it. That was really rough. KZ will join us tomorrow for picks. Anything else that we're doing tomorrow?
Stuff and things. We'll be previewing that primetime under.
I could have sworn you told me that there was somebody that... Oh, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. It's what it is. All right. Tomorrow, picks. Big day. How's it looking over there?
No, not.
You can't open it?
Yeah, I can't open it right
Why
now.
not?
It says I need access. I think maybe try to send it to my other email.
Or open up my email.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, right here. You can open up my email, and you can get to it right there. If they ask you for a password, I think it's the same password I use for everything else. I think. Yeah, just tell it to everyone so they know. By the way, Griffin one day is probably going to be able to, like, rob me blind because he has all of my – the amount of trust that I have in Griffin in my life is overwhelming because –
I haven't steered you wrong yet.
He has access to all of my socials.
Sent you a six-digit code, I believe, to you.
To what? To my email or to my
to
phone?
Your email.
Oh, for God's sake.
I know.
What is going on here? Here, you ready?
Yes.
The code is 829747. This is good radio. This is the good stuff that you guys have been asking for. I've already forgotten what the marker was. I think it was 127 was the marker in the video. Thanks today to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Mother's North Grill, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Costa Sin, Superbook Sports, Harford County, your local Toyota dealer, and buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Did it open?
You want to talk for about 2 minutes and 10 seconds here while it downloads?
We shouldn't need to download it. You should just be able to play
it'll
it
look
from
better. It'll look better when it's done.
Here's the reality. Griffin a couple weeks, maybe months now at this point, said, "Why do we only play the audio of the Tyus Bowser show? We do a video presentation. You have the video. Why don't we play the video?" And I said, points are made. Uniquely last night, there was a small internet problem on top of all the other issues that we had.
Right.
There was a small internet problem at Alonzo's. Not their fault. It was the fault of, the big internet company. And we weren't able to stream the show live. So because of that, we didn't have we couldn't just go pull up the Facebook page and show the video that way. So we had committed to, we're not going to be able to do that. We're just going to have to play the audio. It is what it is. Then literally at about 11:30, I was told, hey, here's the video. And I didn't, actually it was earlier than that. I didn't see it. And then late in the show, I'm like, oh, there's the video. Well, we might as well run that. Griffin wants it to look, I thought we could just do it the way that I did it. Griffin wants it to be better than that somehow.
I do.
How much more time?
We're still under 2 minutes here. I did forget to mention that Alan Richson will be on Jimmy Kimmel.
No one cares about
for
that.
Reacher 2. Reacher season 2.
No one cares about that. By the way,
like Alan Richson.
I tried to start.
State.
We've actually had him on the show
really?
before. Yeah. May December. I started it last night.
Oh, okay.
It's only loosely based on Mary Kay Letourneau. Like it's a fictional story.
Okay.
The concept,
like the premise of what they're doing,
is similar, but not like. And it's almost like it's very weird.
Julianne Moore looks exactly like her.
Not exactly, but she does.
She did.
Like
I didn't realize it was so. Like my
and like they literally. This is what makes everything about it weird. They couldn't win a lawsuit. Like everything in the movie, like they open up like old tabloids. They've recreated pictures that Mary Kay Letourneau had taken. Like, but yet the name of the character in the movie is Gracie.
Right.
Some of the facts are different. Like it's bizarre. It's weird that they decided to make this movie, but it's not exactly the story, but it's so close that like that's what the story is.
And
then the movie's about them making a movie about Mary Kay Letourneau.
I know. It felt like very
it's
Inception.
Meta. Like it's weird AF in that way.
When That's My Boy came out, was that like
I'm not going to spend a second. I've never been angrier in my life about anything that I've ever watched. It ruined. I'll never watch another Adam Sandler film because of it. That's My Boy is the worst film I have ever watched with my eyes. It's horrible. It is appalling and atrocious and offensive to every one of your senses. You can't smell it, but somehow your smell will still be offended by it. You can't taste it, but nothing will taste right afterwards. That's My Boy is easily the worst motion picture I've ever seen in my entire life. This is not that. This is just weird. It's just weird the way they went about doing it. The act of Natalie Portman's Natalie Portman. Like, I enjoy her. Julianne Moore's great. I don't know who this guy is that's in.
It was Charles Melton.
Sure, from Riverdale. We're going to have to bag it in a second if we can't.
We're good to go.
We're good?
Yes.
Sure? All right. I don't know how I feel. I don't even know if I'm going to finish it. And I always finish everything.
Yeah,
it's getting nominated for like all these major awards, and they're being talked about like it's one of the best movies of the year.
I mean, yeah, it makes you feel so weird.
Oh, it's bizarre.
Like, that was the thing. Like because I didn't realize it was based on this true story, and so I saw a quick like interview that some like Australian reporter did when he interviewed the kid and her.
Every element of it is weird. Like that. Why? Did you watch A Teacher when it was on Hulu a couple years ago?
No.
A Teacher was about the concept of a teacher sleeping with a student, and it was weird. But they got to the point. The point of it was to drive home how effed up it is. Maybe they get to the point with this, but it feels so.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it feels so meta.
It doesn't feel that
way.
way.
The normalcy with which they attempt to paint the picture of this, and I get that it's complicated because like these kids, these were actually their parents, and like this was their life, and they had no choice in the matter, and like are they supposed to hate their parent? Like. There's a lot of weird there. Yeah. But if you're going to tell this story, you are required to tell how effed up it is. And they're not doing that. They do that with, like, him. He seems unhappy.
Right. That's the only part. But, like, yeah, it's
very weird. All right. I just needed to get out of here half an hour ago. That was the point of having the Tyus Bowser show. Now the show's going to go till 1. All right. Thank you for hanging out. Did I thank I thanked the guests. I did all that.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah, have a great Tuesday night. Go nobody, or great Wednesday night. Go nobody. Duke sucks. We wrap up today's show with segment number 1 of the Tyus Bowser Show. And welcome out to the Tyus Bowser Show Press Box in 105.7 The Fan. I am Glenn Clark. She is Rita Hubbard. And he is the host of our program. He is Mr. Tyus Bowser. And normally we have a big, huge, hello, Tyus!
Yeah!
How's it going?
It's good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you as well.
Really appreciate it. It's been too long, man. We shouldn't go 3 weeks without seeing each other. I don't like that.
Has it been 3 weeks?
Yeah. We had the bye, and so we wanted to...
Yeah.
It was going to be awkward if we had gotten together after the bye, like, so, how about... Nothing.
Yeah, that did make a lot of sense.
Yeah, so that was smart schedule-wise. Great to see you. Today's show brought to you by Superbook. The Ravens are currently the #1 seed in the AFC. Perhaps you've heard.
Yeah. Clap it up.
And you're running out of time to get more favorable odds on a Festivus run. They're currently plus 220 to win the conference, plus 650 to win it all at Superbook. Download the Superbook app or visit superbook.com. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up, and you'll receive a same-day first bet match up to $250, win or lose. You guys are the #1 seed in the AFC. I don't know if you just heard that a second ago.
Yeah, I did.
How good does that feel at the moment?
The job is not finished yet. Quoted to Kobe, the job's not finished. We still have, 4 more games, I believe, and, playoffs is right after that. I could probably say I'm gonna be more satisfied when we're holding up the trophy.
I appreciate it.
So
yeah.
Our mindset right now is just locked in on Jacksonville and just trying to come out that weekend 1-0.
This is a question, and we're going to talk later about one of the former Ravens on this team, but when you look at the AFC North right now, while the Ravens are the #1 seed, they only have a 2-game lead against the Browns. Is that something that y'all pay attention to? I mean, obviously you have to worry about what's ahead of you, but are you kind of peeking in the rearview mirror? Is that motivation to be like, no, we got to finish this job because it's really not over? It really is a very tight race so far with only 4 games remaining.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's the National Football League and anything can happen. I remember,
as we saw on Monday night.
Exactly. And I remember watching the, what game was that came on during a bye week where we went from 1st to 3rd and we didn't even play that week, And I remember watching the game last night, the Dolphins and the Titans game, and, Coach kind of brought that up during meetings today, just how he wasn't watching it, but he was definitely, keeping that in check as far as, if they won or lost. And, of course, we was happy that the Dolphins lost because that puts us, ahead a little bit more. But we pay attention to little stuff like that because we want to try to be, the number 1 seed, get that first round bye. So we take attention of that, but we don't make that the main focal point. We control what we control, and when we do that, then the rest will kind of handle itself. And I mean, we're in a great position to, continue to take, lead and have control of that number 1 seed, and it's pretty much in our hands at this point. If we take care of business, then everything else ain't gonna matter.
So we're going to do things a little bit differently tonight because it's just us. So we're going to do some more like talk show stuff, and you and Rita get to have a debate right now.
I'm actually looking forward to this.
This is a true story. You just said you want to get that number 1 seed.
Yes.
You know who doesn't want you guys to get the number 1 seed?
Snitches get stitches.
Thank you, Carmela.
Well, this is where I stand with that. The December bye is extremely late, and you only have 5 games left. And so my concern is that if you build momentum, particularly in the schedule that you guys have, which is the most difficult schedule remaining, does a bye week bring rust when you come out of the bye? And this could be me and my Orioles fan.
Yep. We're all thinking about it.
Because people keep saying 2019, and I'm like, I'm past 2019. This team is from a personnel perspective, this team is way better than 2019. But I'm still living in PTSD of what the Orioles just did by winning their division and having rest, and then they got swept, right? Yeah. So my concern is if, let's say y'all finish 4-1, right? That's a huge momentum swing. And my concern is that if you get rest, do you come out still swinging? Do you come out lethargic and it takes you a half? Obviously, I don't play. I know you guys want the rest. I just don't want y'all guys to take y'all foot off the gas. That's my concern.
Yeah. And what's crazy is one of our coaches kind of brought it up today in position meetings when he kind of talked about, living in the moment and just embracing, games like this where, it wasn't our best game, but you understand it's the NFL, and every single game is hard regardless of who it is. And we had just came off of a bye. And, in a way, this was sort of like a trap game, really. But the way that it happened, it was like one of those experiences that we didn't have as a team. So to be able to go through that and find a way to win a game, especially in that matter, that is good for us as like a food for thought moving forward, to know, hey, we've been in this position before. We've came out of a bye week. We came out sluggish. We didn't meet our goals and our emphasis for the week as far as taking care of business on the defensive side. But hey, we won the game.
Yeah.
We found a way to win the game. We found a way to get the stops that we needed. We found a way to get the points. We found a way to make the perfect plays that we needed to win the game. And we understand when it comes to January football, you just never know what's going to happen in the playoffs. I mean, everything is not going to happen the way that you want it to happen because it's the playoffs, And same with December football. And that's one of the things that we noticed. That's one of the things that we embrace is that, hey, regardless of how we came out, we found a way to win because it's the NFL. It don't matter who you playing. You got to come out, and you just got to find a way to come out with a W at the end of the week.
You actually read ahead a little bit on that one because, by the way, this is the Tyus Bowser Show, Press Box and 105.7 The Fan. One thing that, after a game like that, and we're going to get to Thailand in a second, but you'll hear fans, almost want you to apologize for that type of game. You almost be like, hey, that wasn't good enough. You're going to have to be better than that, right?
Yeah.
I always wonder how you guys approach that. When you sit in a room together, are you feeling the same thing? Are you thinking hey, man, we won, but we got to be better than that? Or is your reaction more no, dude, this is the NFL. I don't know who's calling me right now. How dare they not know that I'm doing a Tyus Bowser show? This is the NFL. This is the way it works. There's no perfect. There's no... we feel great about how we played on Sunday because that's the difficulty of winning a game against a good team in the NFL.
And that's correct. I mean, for us, we have a standard to how we move and how we play. And at the same time, we understand that everybody is professionals. Everybody is, the best football players in the world, and you got to come every single week ready to play, because it doesn't matter if they're the 0-17 Browns or the 2-17, I don't know who else. Like, they're going to come and put out their best foot forward to come out here and beat you, and that's what they want to do. They want to strike something within their season to help them, move forward. But I mean, we all, like I said, we have a standard. We know that we can play a lot better than what we did. We could have came out swinging a lot quicker. We could have made a lot more plays. Especially coming off of the bye week. I mean, we kind of felt like we were sluggish, but we understand that it's a football game and you got to fight. And at the same time, we know that these guys are professionals as well, and they get paid. They got to provide and take care of their families just like we have to. And at the end of the day, if you come out with a win, that's all that matters.
Yep. Right.
That's all that matters, and that's our mindset. But we also have the same thought as well, is this is not the standard of how we play. We know we're better than this, but this is a learning lesson for us moving forward, that not only we have been through this situation so we know how to handle it, but then as well, we don't want to put ourselves back in this situation and possibly we don't have the same outcome that we did. So,
all right, I want to do something. This is going to be an exercise right now. First of all, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. Rita, I want to start with you, and then I'm going to have you go first, then Tyus go second. Rita, would you be willing to recreate what you looked like as you were watching Tylan Wallace get free? Maybe what you sounded like? Could you maybe, like, if we pretend, would you be willing to do that? Like, can you tell us what it...
First of all, I'm not going to be able to reenact that because I am an older woman, and that requires me to use my knees again. And I'm not going to do that, okay? I was jumping up and down like I was a child, and I felt that pain later on and that night, and I needed 3 Advil to help my knees from hurting. So no, I'm not going to reenact that.
What if we just did the audio? What if we only did the audio?
No, I can't do that either because there's a lot of expletives that were said in that moment as well, because I was sitting next to a guy. I go to this place to watch the game, and it was a guy that comes, and he's a Colts fan. He just comes to sit. He comes, and he just
Colts fan.
Yes, he just likes to. He's the resident.
Just a troll?
Yes, he's the resident Ravens hater. So he just likes to sit there and be like, y'all ain't winning today. So
we used to make things in this country.
Yeah. So I'm yelling at the screen because they have it on like a huge screen like this, but like real huge. And then I'm yelling at the young man because, and it wasn't nice. So no, I cannot reenact neither my physical actions because I'm too old to do that, and I can't reenact how I sounded because I did some cursing.
Tyus, can you reenact what it was like?
Yeah, I mean, I remember being beside Sam Cooke on like the 50-yard line or whatever, and I remember looking. I was like, all right, let's go to work, Ty. Let's go to work, Ty. Oh, yeah, Ty. Oh, yeah, Ty. Oh, yeah, Ty. Oh, yeah, Ty. Oh, stay up, stay up, stay. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, that was it.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Was Sam Cooke was he the proud father? Was that a proud father moment for Sam Cooke?
He's like the most stoned dude.
I wasn't even paying attention to him at that point. I just knew he was beside me because I seen him right beside me. And it was like, yeah, it's time to go to work, Ty. And then I was just looking at him go. I seen him, and he made the big block, and then I seen him break off free, and then that's when my eyes started getting big, and then the dude came and tried to trip him. He kept his feet, and from there, I tried running on the field, felt my knee a little bit, and I kept running, and I was like, oh yeah, then ran down the field, and it was just amazing.
Like a genuine soul leaving your body type of. Yeah,
what did you do, Glenn?
Yeah, what did you do?
I mostly said, well, that's fun. And then
I think Glenn is alive.
I'm a very old man.
I use the acronym, quite frankly, LFG.
Yeah, sure, right?
So if you know what that means, you know what I said.
Let's freaking go. Everybody knows that one. It's exactly, you say, let's freaking go.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I don't understand why you couldn't say that on the air. Let's freaking go, yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
That's the one she said, right? And we're all.
That is what she said.
She always says that.
Yeah, yeah. That's whatever I say on the post game show is what I said on press box. I mean, when that happened.
And we actually went through our photos. You know, the photos that we have on the wall and stuff. So we got to choose which ones. There was only 3 of them, and they was all for Tyler.
Did we ever get an update on the last one that you guys didn't like? Was an update made?
It wasn't made, but you know.
I thought we put in the inquiry and everything.
I thought we did too, but
man,
I remember asking. They said, yeah, they didn't have any access to that photo or didn't know where that photo was.
You're the Baltimore Ravens.
I said the same thing.
I don't understand this at all.
I said the same
So
thing.
what did you guys go with from?
So the first one that showed, it was like from the opposite side view looking at us of him running. And the first thing I'm looking at, and I see myself and I'm looking like this.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, they done put me out here on the spot. Everybody laughing.
Is that the one in the?
No, I don't think that's going to win. It's another one. But the other 2, it's not that.
Who would I need to ask about getting a copy of that?
I mean, if I was able to get a copy, I should have took a picture of it, but I don't want to be pulling out my phone during team meetings. But
I would have preferred, you know what would have been a good picture is a screenshot of Harbaugh in the camera at the end of the game. That would have been perfect.
That would have been perfect.
Because his reaction is probably everybody. He is all of us. He was a fanboy in that moment.
Yeah, he definitely was.
That was my favorite
I remember seeing
part.
that, and I was like, yo, Harbs is funny, man.
And he's not even trying to be funny.
Not even trying to be funny. He's just caught in the moment. He's just embracing that time, and whatever he's showing is truly him. So that was real cool seeing that.
I want to ride with that for a second, right? I told you, we're going to rip up. I always write out a script for the show. Forget the script this week. We're just going with it. You just said something because I try to explain this to people. There are people that don't like decisions that John Harbaugh makes within a game, right? They'll say, why don't you take a timeout there? Why don't you go for it there? Why don't you... I always say it this way. I'm like, whatever you feel about John Harbaugh's decision-making, I can't tell you whether you're right or wrong. What I can say is what you just talked about resonates to me in a big way from every player that I speak to with a microphone in front of them and every guy that I talk about with them about when there's no microphone anywhere near us. Mm-hmm. Which is the leadership side of this, the personality, the way it gels, right? And I keep saying winning doesn't happen by accident, or you don't win for 15 years in spite of your head coach. That's insane. The culture couldn't be like that. Could you explain, because what you just said, like that moment and how that resonated, could you tell us a little bit more about why it's such a fit with John Harbaugh and you guys, that this culture exists here?
Number one, because he's a player's coach. And I feel like that's the number one and most important thing because he understands his players. He understands that we're grown men. He understands we are professionals, you know, and like it's not an ego. It's not really an egotistic thing when, you know, if a player has something to say or player has a different mindset or, you know, whatever the case may be, like he understands that his players are the reason why he's in that job, you know. And when you have players that care, you have players that wants to fight, and you allow them to do that, you show them love, you show them respect, you show them appreciation, you know, like how do you not want to play for a guy like that? You know, and that tells a lot about him, just the type of man that he is and how much he cares, and he's always trying to do the best that he can for his team, for his players. And even when there's a bad call or a bad play, I mean, the play with Zay Flowers, when he caught the ball and then dude started picking him up and stuff, you can see hard.
He wanted to fight.
No,
like
he really was. He really was about to fight the dude, like got in his face and everything. It was like I
missed it at first. Like I didn't when it was happening. happening? I didn't catch it at all.
No, I'm looking, I'm seeing it, and I could see it in his eyes. Like, I'm this close from punching you through your face mask right now.
About to have a big Dom moment.
Don't touch my player like that. Like, that's way, and that simply showed that. How do you not want to run through a brick wall for that man? You know, and that shows you the type of culture, starting with him.
Yep.
As far as being a leader, just being a player's coach and allowing his players to flourish and be the actual players that you brought them into this organization to be. And that's how you propel and become the organization, the team that you look for to compete for a world championship.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, poo-poo on coaches that are pretty stoic, like, the Bill Belichick's of the world, who when they celebrate, he just doesn't really smile a ton. But it's good to see when things like Sunday's game happens that coaches get enthusiastically involved in the process. Because my favorite thing is the post-game video of Tylon. Everybody's like throwing Gatorade at him. And Harbaugh's like in the back jumping up and down like a kid. And I was like, he's so unintentionally funny, but he's living in the moment. And that's, I don't know how important that is to y'all. I don't know if that really matters in the grand scheme of things, right? But ultimately, like, when you see your coach as enthusiastic as you are about a huge win like that, to me, I would think that speaks volumes.
It does speak volumes, man. Who was expecting their coach to be jumping around, throwing water and hugging and everything, trying to dance and stuff? Like, nobody's expecting that. He's an older cat. He can't do too much, but, he's trying to live in his younger days. He's trying to still feel, which, in the locker room, it seemed like he still got a lot to him, which is great to see. Like, that's just more energy, given to the team, and just his energy, just his presence, just the way he speaks, it does a big part as far as how this team moves forward. And just to have somebody like that, it's awesome. It's great to have.
All right, I'm going to wrap this segment because we didn't really talk about Tylen. What that moment meant for him, everything he's been through, injuries, thinking he was off the team, and how you guys embraced him finally getting the chance to say, like, yeah, I can help too. Like, I want to be a part of this thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of really started when he had the offsides on punt return, and people caught notice of that, and he had the opportunity to get in as a punt returner and made plays for us. And then, like you said, just having that big play, that big moment for him, I honestly thought it was a jump start for him, mentally as a player, because, like you said, he's been through a lot, just with constant hamstring injuries and, barely making the team and just trying to put his name out there to show people that he still is that player. Yep. And, it just takes something as simple as one play, one moment that can really just jumpstart or change your entire game, your entire career. And just to be able to see that out of him, especially me being around him enough to see the type of guy he is, how he take care of business, how hard he works, just the kind dude that he is. You just want to see people like that flourish. You want to see people like that happy. And for him to have that moment, man, it was heartwarming to see his face, walking through the locker room, just smiling. I don't think I've seen him smile that hard in a while. Even in the locker room, even in the meetings and stuff, you could just see his persona just change, and it's great to see something like that happen for him, because I know what he's been through. I know the challenges that he's faced, and just being able to, find a way to continue to stay positive and keep a strong mindset, and just to go out there and when your name is called, to go out there and make a play that can help this team win.
That was awesome. That was awesome, man. All right, make some noise for Tyus Bowser, please. the show is a partnership of Pressbox and Grade 8's Memorabilia, and if you missed him at the Tyus Bowser Show, you can meet Justin Matabike next Tuesday, December 19th at Wise Markets in Haverty Grace. A VIP autograph ticket will cost you just a $25 donation to Grade 8's Memorabilia's Project 500 Gifts Toy Drive. It's a win-win, so get those tickets right now, grade8smemorabilia.com. When we come back in, we got to get caught up with you, and we want you to put your analyst hat on in the next segment. Analyst Tybo is what we're doing when we come back in. This is the Tyus Bowser.